Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, August 10th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. That particular song, for those of you that are in a certain age group, those are actually some white guys out of England. I remember that song coming out about early 80s. And I remember it was really popular with the guys that pop locked. So, for those of you youngins, that was like the beginning stages. Well, not so much beginning, because hip hop kind of started a little bit earlier than the 80s. It started in the late 70s. But anyhow, that is a heavy pop locker or dancing tune. So that was actually some white guys out of England that came up with that. And I picked that tonight because that song had always reminded me of computers because of the beat. So tonight's topic is actually quantum computer realities, matrix, crystals, and dimensions. So I'm really excited about the topic tonight. We're going to do follow-up. I did find some follow-up material on our topic from last week, The Making of a Messiah. This article, and it's this article that I'm going to share with the family, is actually tied into hip-hop. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to go over that. And then I did, as I said I was going to do, I went to see The Dark Tower. Whew! Has some deep stuff. So we're going to go over that, and that also ties into our topic for tonight, quantum computer realities. So with that said, I am going to bring on my co-host. Let me see. I see Brother Wendell. I see Sis, and I see Sean. So let me bring on Brother Wendell first. All right, let's see what he's eating on tonight or what he made. So here we go. Hey, Brother Wendell.
Mashed potatoes and mixed vegetables, baby.
Okay. I hear you. How you doing?
I'm all right, I reckon. I'm still around.
Good deal. Okay, let me bring in Brother Sean, and I'll bring in Sis. Here we go. Greetings, Brother Sean.
Greetings, beloved sister. Greetings, Brother Wendell.
How you doing, my brother?
I'm okay. Sis, actually, they're out of Germany.
Out of Germany. Okay, because I know they said Trans-Europe Express, so I assumed the UK, but out of Germany. Okay, and that even makes more sense. So,
and also, it was a line dance. People still do it to this day, but that's when the line dance first started, with the monorail and the Trans-Europe Express.
Were they popping off of the line dancing, or they just created a line dance off of it?
They created a line dance off of it, though. Trans-Europe Express. That's what it was called.
Oh, okay. Because I just remember the poppers using it.
They danced off of it too.
Mm-hmm.
But
the pop
basically became a line dance thing. That's what it's classically known for.
Okay, and I know it's a very popular song with the melanated community. I mean, it was a straight jam when it came out, and I can't remember what came out first, Planet Rock or that. because when Planet Rock came out, we was like, oh. So that was a different story. So I kind of put it up there. I mean, it wasn't as good as Planet Rock, but it was pretty ahead of its time. So that's still one of the cuts too.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let me bring in Sis Sandra. Let me open up her line. Greetings, sis.
Greetings. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hello, Brother Wendell and Brother Sean.
How you doing, sister?
I'm doing
Greetings,
well.
another sister.
Good. Yeah, I must have been lost in the 80s because I don't even remember none of that stuff.
I just look at it on the hip hop level, and it could have just been because of my age and my age group. That's when hip hop and breakdancing was starting to get hot. So that's how I remember the song being used by the poppers, the pop lockers. Yeah. Your son will know what I'm talking about. So the pop locking actually came before breakdancing.
Well, we have a song in Zumba where they said drop, pop, and lock. So maybe that's where they
because that's where it came from. That movie Breakin', I think it was it Shabba-Doo that was the popper in Breakin', and he would show, and Rerun. Actually, I think Rerun was the first one that I remember that was popper.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, the big guy, how he would dance. Yeah. That was pop locking.
Oh, okay, that's what they call that.
Yeah. So that.
I'm not paying attention to the wording. I was just looking at how he can move all that body.
Yeah. Now I don't know when it became the term pop locking, but some call it locking. Yeah, but I mean we just knew it as pop locking. So, but that was one of the cuts to do it. So. Okay, family. So let's start. Last week we did the show on the making of a Messiah, false prophets, and movements, and leaders. And so I ran across this article, and I forget who posted it. Now this is no new news to me, but why I'm bringing it into play as a follow-up for the Making a Messiah show, because it talked about a cult-like following with this particular group. And interestingly enough, the group that they are referring to is the Zulu Nation. So anyone that's familiar with hip-hop knows that Africa Bambaataa started the Zulu Nation out of New York. So one of the former members stepped forward to kind of give his take and give some insight into the allegations of sexual molestation that has come up with Africa Bambaataa, who is the founder of Zulu Nation. So this article actually came out this week, August 7th, out of a website, Ambrosia for Heads, and it appears to be a hip-hop site.com. And the article is titled, A Zulu Nation's Veteran Details the Alleged Decades of Corruption Under Africa Bambaataa. And they also have an audio to it. So it says, following the shocking child molestation and allegations surrounding Universal Zulu Nation's founder and longtime leader, Africa Bambaataa, which surfaced in March of 2016, the hip-hop pioneer's fall from grace has left the organization's leadership and infrastructure in question without many viable answers. Recently, former high-ranking Zulu Nation member and DJ Mark Love appeared on the Take No Prisoners radio show to give details of what he had learned about the alleged corruption within the organization that he proudly represented for several decades. Love is a veteran DJ who, over the course of his 33-year career, has DJed for artists like KRS-One and the Pharisees, was a co-founder of the Rock the Bells Festival, and currently works with Cypress Hill Be Real on BeReal.tv. Mark Love talked about the power struggle between the Universal Zulu Nation and the International World Council, which oversees the nation's daily operations. Additionally, he gave alarming details about why the Zulu Nation's public image and status as a symbol of peace and love and unity has been irrevocably damaged by the scandal. As time went on, I became, sorry, family. Okay, yep, I'm right. So a quote from him. As time went on, I became a member of the World Council. I was on the council with Africa, Bambaataa, and was privy to a lot of information. Mark Love begins just before 2,300 hours into the radio show. One thing that really used to shock me was the level of corruption that I would encounter all the time. The shortcuts and the stuff that people would let people get away with because they were old school or they were friends or whatever. How people would try to take advantage of people either through their ignorance of the culture or even because of race. Those are things that would often irk me. The former Zulu Nation official even alleged that several unnamed Zulu members attempted to run a prostitution ring within the organization. Okay, so remember last week when we started talking about the Messiah concept and how these organizations and movements turned into cults, and one of them were the women being in situations where they would willingly pimp themselves out. Usually it was to the quote, quote, deemed Messiah. So when I saw that, I immediately knew where this article was going. So it says, yes, there were certain Zulus who were trying to start a prostitution ring under Zulu Nation. There were members who were stealing money from each other. That's always another sign. There was a lot of corruption. And as a member of the World Council, me and a few members were doing our best to stop. So there was a time when I had to shut down someone who wanted to pimp the Zulu Queen to people. I'm not making this up. I'm dead serious. Admitting that he was skeptical of the accusations at first, Love changed his mind after the number of accusers grew. As a result of the fallout, Mark Love left the Universal Zulu Nation. There were not two accusations of child molestation. There were 7 accusations. 5 accusations were only known to us. Zulu Nation never went public. 2 of the accusations are so important, it basically put the Zulu Nation at odds. The accusation of the 2 other people, of the 5 people, but the accusation of the other 2 people that I can't name, they were so big because everybody knew them. Everybody in the Zulu Nation knew these individuals. Every young chapter member, every freaking chapter leader, Zulu kings, council members, everyone. And when he basically said that he was molested, we were like, oh my God. Those 2 high-ranking accusations that have been damning to members, one person said, yes, I was molested by African Bambaataa. It hurt so badly after that call. And I'll say this to anyone in Zulu Nation, at least 55% of the nation left. They were like, I don't want to do this anymore because it was a bombshell. Mark Love addressed the organizational turmoil that led to Bambaata's tenure as leader, reportedly ending in May of 2016. Yeah. there were some people that stayed, but many didn't want to proclaim it anymore unless the leadership was out, which led to the ousting of Afrika Bambaataa. There are still active Bambaataa supporters within the nation. The old leadership they still love and honor and respect and follow Bambaataa, Mark Love stated. That's not going to change because they were around back in the 70s and whatever. They're used to the corruption and they're used to the lying, so they're not going to change. Mark Love apparently questions the organization's principles in light of its recent conduct. The Zulu Nation was supposed to always be about truth. Don't all of them start out that way, but anyhow. That's the one thing it was supposed to always be about: knowledge, wisdom, understanding, truth. Okay, this is the truth. And the funny thing is the Zulu Nation was running from the truth a lot. Later in the interview, Mark Love declared why Bambaataa is unable to be officially ousted from his post at the helm of the Universal Zulu Nation. Despite what the public believed in May of last year, the DJ says it is not accurate and why. We happen to find out that the name Universal Zulu Nation is owned by Afrika Bambaataa. So even if we kicked him out, we couldn't because he owns the name. And we also found out that he had it registered as a church in 1994. Yes, the very organization that said we're not a cult and we're not a religion was put out as a church in 1994. We did not know that. If I had known that, I would have walked away from it. Especially how every time I turned around, Bambaataa tried to have us involved in something that was kind of religious. And this is an ironic one. He tried to make us Nuwaubians under Dr. Malachi York, which was an ironic one considering what Malachi York was put in jail for. In 1967, the man born Dwight York founded Nuwaubian Nations, a religious organization that was based in New York City until the early 90s. In April of 2004, York was convicted of child molestation and RICO counts. He was sentenced to 135 years. York appeal was denied. He is currently serving at the ADX in Florence, Colorado. The Universal Zulu Nation was founded in 1973 in the Bronx, New York, and is ubiquitously credited as the founding organization of hip-hop culture. It reportedly has membership chapters in over 70 countries. So again, that article came out this week, August 7th, off of a website called AmbrosiaForHeads.com. It appears to be a hip-hop website. Okay, so I just did want to give the family a follow-up article based on our show last week about being careful of organizations that we join that have a certain movement to them, and with a deemed leader, whether or not they're serving in a leader capacity and or deeming themselves with some sort of title as a savior or messiah, because it can easily get out of control with people ego tripping and wanting to usurp power for themselves, and the organization loses its focus and it basically becomes a cult and all kind of shady shit behind the scenes. So you heard in that article some of the signs was corruption with money, and more importantly, the mistreatment of molestation, allegations of molestation, and or abusing and pimping out women sexually or abusing women sexually, whether it be willingly or not. So I did want to share that as a follow-up to the family. So I'll pause in case the family wants to put something on it.
Yeah, that's been the nature of the music industry, movie industry, modeling, whatever. I mean, it's a classic thing. I mean, those in the position of power, they tell you got to play the game. You got to come on in. That's the only way you can get it.
Yeah, but the sad part about the Africa Bambaataa stuff, because he took it beyond the music industry. He literally set up an organization to supposedly, help neighborhoods, help the disenfranchised, and he turned it into a cult. Now, people allowed him, anytime you have a cult that is established, you have supporting people around that deemed leader who allows it to happen. Because you best believe if there is some abuse going on in an organization, there is an inner circle that knows the shit is going on.
Exactly. And there's also external components, too, as far as for the big corporation.
Agreed.
They allowed that to go on because he was misleading people. I mean, how are you uplifting people if you put in that type of psychological, physical, and emotional burden?
Exactly. Absolutely. And then the whole aspect of, being established as a church. And, we know why they do that, because it's basically for the tax breaks. So these are the things to look for if you are choosing to be a part of any type of organization. If they start out not talking about money, but behind the scenes are either requiring money or all of a sudden forcing the members into generating money or asking the people for money, that's a huge red flag right there. Another one is, if they say they don't have a certain IRS status, whether that be the church status, and that's associated with the 501c3 or not, that's another red flag as well to look for. So those are just some of the things I wanted to share with the family, and that is a classic example of how a Messiah was made out of Bambaataa and how he abused that role, and the people around him allowed him to do it. Okay. All righty. So, as promised, I am going to go into real quick at a high level about the movie The Dark Tower, and it's going to feed into our topic tonight, quantum computer realities, matrix, crystals, and dimensions. Okay, so I went to see the movie The Dark Tower over the weekend with Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. Very, very good movie, family. I will highly go recommend it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go back and see it, and this time I can take my little notebook and take notes. Okay, so from a high level, the movie was very, very well done because it really plainly put in your face the esoteric energy side. And just as I predicted before I went to see the movie, that dark tower represents Mama Earth's energy center. And they didn't dance around it, hint about it, none of that. Literally in the movie, Idris, when one of the main characters, the little boy, met up with Idris in another realm, this the tripped out part, family. Idris drew Ezekiel's wheel in the dirt. So anybody that don't know what Ezekiel's wheel is, it's literally, think about a bicycle wheel with the spokes and just lay it on the ground, okay? And it may not have as many spokes as a typical bicycle wheel. So it might have 6 or 8. I can't remember how many he drew. Okay. He said, and so the little boy asked him, well, what is this? He said, this is the map of the world. So I'm sitting there, I said, oh, really not, Idris? So he had Ezekiel's wheel. In the middle of the map was a circle, and coming from out of that circle were spokes. So I said, okay, so is that a reference to flat earth? So it gets deeper. So he said this map is a world within worlds. So the spokes, he pointed to the spokes, represents other worlds. And he said, and at the center of it is the earth's energy. And this particular world within worlds is enclosed by a dome. And I'm sitting in the theater like, oh, hell no. So he says, and the fight is to control the energy center of the earth. And outside of the dome is darkness. And you have forces trying to get inside the dome to control the energy center, and you have forces within the dome trying to control the energy center. So I found that very, very interesting that, number one, he right out the gate told you early in the movie what the tower represented. They didn't beat them around the bush. They literally said that that was Mother Earth's energy center. And we had just talked about that over the last couple weeks, how Mama Earth energy center is at the center of the earth. And one video suggested that we can see it with the aurora borealis. So that green energy that shoots up that you can see in the northern hemisphere, and sometimes it has purple hue, sometimes it has pink hue. So I found that very interesting. So in addition to that, he kind of flashed back because the little boy had showed him some drawings, because the little boy had visions and all that. And I'm not going to give all of that away. You'll have to go see the movie and you'll know what I'm talking about. So the little boy turned over some drawings to him of visions that he had. And the little boy had a vision of Idris fighting the Civil War. And in that vision, they showed us, the viewers, that vision. Idris and another man was fighting the Civil War. And the other man was melanated also. And so Matthew McConaughey's character is known as the Man in Black. I kind of chuckled at that as well. And so Matthew McConaughey's character showed up. And so the Idris and the other melanated man, and who was actually the Allstate insurance man that does the Allstate commercials, said, we've lost, haven't we? We couldn't change it. And so Idris, the Allstate man, said, yes, but we're going to keep fighting to make sure that we win. So basically, the Man in Black, Matthew McConaughey's character, was able to get into the mind of the Allstate man's character and wind up killing him. And Idris was able to get away because he wasn't strong enough to get in his mind to kill him. But the interesting part about that entire scene, they kind of made reference to the fact that the Civil War was, we know it was a physical war, and we've also talked about that on this show also, that war was a lot deeper than they are telling us, because it was really the last stand from the indigenous people of this land, the melanated people, trying to fight off the colonists. So those folks from England, and that included the melanated trade coats that I call the dirty Moors, that helped what is known as the founding fathers. So, it's always been speculations in some circles that the Civil War was about much, much more than what they claim it was. This particular movie was suggesting that Civil War was a battle for controlling the energy on the planet, or controlling Mama Earth's energy center. So I found that interesting. So throughout the movie, they showed how the characters were able to jump dimensions. Now, when they jump dimensions, still picture that Ezekiel wheel laying on that ground representing a map of Mama Earth. When they were jumping dimensions, they were jumping them within Mama Earth, but it was another realm in Mama Earth. So they was jumping from spoke to spoke to spoke. So each spoke represented another world. That's why he said the world, which was the entire wheel itself within the world, which represented the individual worlds, represented the spokes. So they showed throughout the movie several dimensional ports that they were able to go through to jump dimensions. But one interesting part was when the main little boy character first jumped through the realm, the man in black, Matthew McConaughey's little team, said, "Uh-oh, we have a breach." And he was like, "Well, what are you talking about?" He said, "Somebody crossed into such and so territory without a passport." I looked at that. I said, "Oh, hell no." So, Matthew McConaughey said, "Well, who is it? Bring up the picture." Because whoever came through that port, they are pure. So meaning they would only be able to get through that port if they were vibrating at a certain high frequency rate. So I found that interesting also. So when the little boy character had first jumped through the portal, and he was in one of the other worlds, but still on planet Earth, still on Mama Earth. He was just in another dimension on Mama Earth in one of the spokes. The system in the sky, you could literally see what looked like the Nibiru system. So you saw like a big red planet hanging in the sky, and then you saw another planet behind it. So I thought that was interesting as well. So all throughout the movie, they talked about, the different realms and some of the things that went on in the different realms. And, Idris's particular character, he was known as the gunslinger. He also kept referring back to the little boy's the little boy's realm, which represented our current realm. And at one time, he hinted around when they had to come back to our current realm that animals used to talk. And so I'm like, oh, is he kind of hinting at a state where we were in Atlantis? So the overall theme of the movie was just as we always talked about, that no one can override you. No one can take control of you. No one can defeat you if you have control of your mind. So in other words, mind control over matter. So, those are some of the important highlights of the movie. I would encourage the family to definitely go see it. You'll definitely get a lot other deep stuff out of it, and I'm going to go back again to see it with my notebook. So with that said, I'll yield in case somebody wants to put something on it, and we'll move on.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I didn't see the movie, But I just was listening to Fulford. What's his name? Ben Fulford.
Uh-huh.
And he has a video out on August the 7th, I think it was. And they were just talking about Atlantis being reborn again, and the different energies that are trying to fight to get Atlantis back running like it used to run. And I'm like,
interesting.
It's like, what are you talking about? Atlantis? And they always say it's theirs. They never say it's ours, but they always say it's theirs, and we're, the energy, the entities, and the fighting, and and trying to reestablish the great peace and the great city of Atlantis again. So it's kind of interesting that movie is in that vein, and he's talking the same thing about what's happening is a fight for the planet to bring back Atlantis.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Brother Sean, you have something you want to put on it?
Yeah. I see the correlations with that. But in order for them to get hold to Mother's energy center, they got to get rid of her guardians, her children.
Right, and that ain't going to happen. So, yeah.
But that's part of the reason for the mind control, and they're picking off the weak. Old divide and conquer.
Yep.
Got us focused on everything else. All these other distractions.
Absolutely.
That divine feminine energy coming in now. They're trying to figure out ways to block it.
Yep.
CERN is the way that they were trying to let other entities into this realm. Also give themselves the way out. All right there in your face. It don't sound like they was holding back no punches in that movie.
No, and I didn't know because I had went on and I think actually the Wall Street Journal did a write-up because it was #1 at the box office over the weekend. And I always read the comments, and I didn't know that particular movie, The Dark Tower, was based off of Stephen King's novel series called The Dark Tower. And so I said, okay, that makes sense. And Stephen King was also the one that his book Under the Dome, you remember they made that TV series Under the Dome? Well, that was also based on Stephen King's books. So, it kind of makes sense, with that whole theory of the world within the world, etc. So that was just interesting to me. And I think what is happening, and then it really goes into what we're going to get in tonight, because, we've talked several times on this show, and if you know how frequencies / vibrations work, then you can peek into the future. You can peek into the past while you are in the presence of now. So I'm saying all that to say these particular disagreeable entities that's operating on a lower vibrational level, because remember, they cannot get past the fourth dimension, they already know what the outcome is going to be. And that is defeat for them. So meaning the planet will ascend, and I believe she's ascending already if a split has not already happened. I am inclined to believe that it has, meaning a split of Mama Earth with a higher dimension. These particular entities low-level entities or demigods or disagreeable beings, however you want to categorize them, they know they cannot win. Let's be clear. They know they cannot win because they've already peered into the future. They saw the ascension of the planet, and the folks, the guardians, and all the folks that raise their vibrations, in essence, go to that higher realm. All they are doing is trying to delay, to buy themselves more time to feed off of other beings because they are parasites. They cannot exist without feeding off of someone's energy. And what better way to feed off of a divine being that has unlimited energy? What better way to control a divine being with unlimited energy and power? Okay, so I think that at this stage in the game, because we've already shifted around in ages, so meaning we are no longer in the dark age. We are out of the Pisces age. That's gone. We're into the golden age. And with that age has always been associated with higher vibrations. And sis, as a matter of fact, that's where folks say that the reign of Atlantis happened. Atlantis was during the golden age. So I can very well see folks making reference to Atlantis coming back on board, because that still represents that higher frequency, higher dimension. So they already know that it is inevitable. They're simply trying to delay and simply trying to keep as many beings as they can under their control for feeding. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm going to pause. Okay, somebody else want to put something on it, and then we're going to continue on.
You know those spokes there where people can cross the dimensional lines and stuff like that? Reminds me of the Merkaba, which is the tree of life for the Sephiras. And what they actually do is when we vibrate, we actually break through the different levels to go up to the chakra. And it also brings me back to, and they're using, like Brother Sean said, they're using machinery like CERN and the harp to break through with the electrons vibrating, and you're going to get to that for the computers. I think they're using electrons to energize the atmosphere so they can break through to the other dimensions. And so as we vibrate higher into the Sephiras, out of the Kundalini and going up to the crown chakra, that's also the changing of dimensions that we're going through spiritually and harmonically, maybe not as much physically, and the ones that are so hooked on the sexual, the Kundalini, the lower part, and they're bombarding television with sex, triple and group sex, and just sex. And when you stay down into sex, you cannot vibrate higher because your focus is not on developing up to your crown chakra.
Absolutely.
And they do that deliberately.
Yeah.
All the movies. So I'm done. I'm
sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you. No, very well said. I got so excited when you were putting something on it, because absolutely, and family, let's be clear. We're not saying that anything is dirty or wrong with your sexual chakra, because it is a part of who you are. The point being as a God body, as a higher dimensional being, you are in the age where you are supposed to become the master of balancing that. So meaning when you need to go to the sexual chakra, you go there, do what you need to do, balance it, and move on. You are not supposed to be stuck at any chakra center. You are supposed to be in control of your God body, your Makaba. And actually, I've ran across a Facebook post where it depicted the Makaba very, very accurately, because that's what really that Star of David represents. The triangle and then the inverted triangle. And then you 4D or 5D that out. That creates the Merkaba. That's what your body transforms into from a spiritual perspective. That is your spaceship. But that regular triangle, the upright one, that represents your higher self. The top of that triangle represents your crown chakra. The inverted triangle, the upside down triangle, that represents your lower self. The tip of the bottom of the inverted or upside down triangle, that is your root chakra. So you as the God body are supposed to be mastering your Makaba, operating up and down that Kundalini energy, which is your chakra system, okay? Because we are in the age where not only, and we're just talking even before we came into the golden age, you already had the power to activate your Makaba. Now we are in the age where you are getting even more energy, or that's what you hear the term about the DNA unlocking, which makes you even a more powerful spiritual being, and you will need that to operate in the higher realms. Okay? So the quantum computer, all they're doing, and I'm going to get into the official definition of quantum computing, it is mimicking, or trying to mimic your God body. Because as a God body, as a high dimensional being, you have the ability to be a creator. We've talked about this several times. You have the ability to create your own reality. And as a collective, we create realms. So meaning we create worlds within a world. That is who you are as a high dimensional being, because you are able to rise your Kundalini energy, to balance out your chakras to higher realms. The demigods, the demons, cannot do that. They cannot get past that lower self or that heart chakra. Okay? So now if you're able to rise above them, that means who's really the controller, you or them? You are really the controller. So they are going to use every trick in the book to keep you in your lower state and never realizing or activating your Makaba, your God body, your higher self, because that's when you create. Okay? And although you still can create at the lower level, you just don't create higher level things. You create lower level shit. Because that's also the programming in this computer simulation that we live in. So with that said, I'm going to start with what is quantum computing. Let me bring up that definition. All right, come on, work with me. All right, so of course this is coming out of Wikipedia. Quantum computing studies theoretically computation systems that make direct use of quantum mechanics phenomena such as superposition and entanglement to perform operations on data. Quantum computers are different from binary digital electronic computers based on transistors. Whereas common digital computing requires that data be encoded into binary bits. That's a fancy way of 0 and 1, y'all. Each of which is always one of two defined states, 0 or 1. Okay. Quantum computing uses quantum bits, which can be imposed of states. A quantum Turing machine is a theoretical model of such a computer, and it is also known as the universal quantum computer. The field of quantum operating was initiated by the works of Paul Benioff and Yuri Mann in 1980, and Richard, whatever. But that was back in the 80s. They came up with this, quote, quote, quantum computing aspects. A quantum computer with spins as quantum bits was also formulated for use as a quantum space-time in 1968. Okay, so that lets you know that they've been toiling with the quantum theory. So in other words, bending what they call space-time or trying to program space-time since 1968. As of 2017, the development of actual quantum computers is still in its infancy. Bullshit, but anyway. But experiments have been carried out in which quantum computer operations were executed on a very small number of quantum bits. Okay, so they just contradicted themselves, but okay, whatever. Both practical and theoretical research continues as many national governments and military agencies are funding quantum computing research in an effort to develop quantum computers for civilian business, trade, environmental, and national security purposes, such as cryptic analysts, and I didn't even look that up, of what that means. So you'll have to go back and look it up, what it means. Large-scale quantum computers would theoretically be able to solve certain problems more quickly than any classical computers that use even the best-known algorithms like integers, fractionalization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There exist quantum algorithms such as Simon's algorithms that run faster than any possible probabilistic. Now, peep what they said. There exist quantum algorithms, okay? And algorithms is the fancy way of saying we're going to put all of these particular codes together to come up with possibilities, okay? And based on the possibilities, we're going to score those possibilities, and whatever the best matches of the possibilities, that lets you know a greater rate of success. So in other words, if I come up with 100 algorithms and I score each one of those on a scale of 1 to 10, the ones that rank 10, the 10 meaning the most success rate, the ones that rate 10 are the algorithms that I'm going to pick because they have the best probability of success versus the ones that only have a score of 1. And guess what, family? That's exactly how the goddamn stock market works. There is no more folks sitting behind the desk doing all this analyzing on the data that they didn't get. No one person. The stock market now solely operates off of algorithms, taking all that data, picking the best possibilities. So who's going to always win the biggest with the stock market? The folks that pay for the algorithms to be in place. So I just want to throw that out there. So that's what an algorithm means, family. So there exists quantum algorithms, such as Simon's algorithm, that run faster than any possible probabilistic classical algorithm. A classical computer could, in principle, with exponential resources, simulate a quantum algorithm, as quantum computing does not violate, whatever it is, Church-Turing thesis is, whatever. On the other hand, quantum computers may be able to efficiently solve problems which are not, and they put practically, feasible on classical computers. So in other words, they are telling you that they have stepped up their game to analyze data for probabilities of an outcome that they want to see. So in other words, they are computing or calculating what realities that they can possibly create. So in other words, they are trying to mimic what you can naturally do as a God body that is operating at your optimum on the higher realms when you are accessing that crown chakra. And we've talked about that many times. How do you do it? Well, of course, you do it by practicing balancing your Kundalini energy. And once you get to that state where you are confident in being a creator on higher realms, meaning you create the reality you want. Although ideally, family, you're doing that every day with your thoughts. If you think you broke as fuck, guess what? You're going to continue to be broke as fuck. Whatever your intents are, whatever your thoughts are, your actions follow, you create your reality. So you are a walking creator, okay? But once you wake up and realize that, of course you're not going to want to be on the lower end in the muck and mire, as they say, being the victim or someone else dictating to you what your reality should be. And that goes back to what Brother Sean was saying about the environment you allowing outside influences like the television and other factors, your ego, to influence you rising above to truly create the world that you really want. So that's an insight of what quantum computing is. They are trying to mimic your God body higher realm essence as creators. So I'll pause. I know I said a lot there. Let somebody put something on it.
I want to add, if I may, they're trying to do the electricity that's a part of our flesh to control how the electrons are split into ions away from the atom, which is the creation part of our existence, because we're able to do things with just being who we are. So, and when they do that, that means they're trying to emulate the God essence by manipulating the ions or the electrons in the atom. And when we reigned eons ago, the pyramids were levitated by energy of electricity. And this is what they're trying to put these computers together for, to manipulate the world that we live in so they can keep the world that we live in the way they want it. So I was studying a little bit of that quantum physics and the wiring they're doing in the computer and dropping it below 273.5 degrees, bring it back to the level they want it, and they don't really know how it works, but they're working hard to do it, and so they can get those qubits that they need to make a massive computer. But we as people, if we really start concentrating on who we are and what we can do, we can make this thing. We can make these people go away instead of having them control. And we can be, like Seven Bomar said, if we stop thinking of them being the master, and that means we be the slaves, we will turn this thing around.
Exactly.
We will turn it all around. Because if you keep putting them in the master position, then you have to be the slave.
Absolutely. So, in essence, if we, and great point, sis, and I know, Brother Sean, you want to put something on it, and I see you, 313, I'm coming to you, sweetheart. If we keep, as a collective, putting them in the position of master, we are, in essence, creating that master-slave relationship. So that goes back to create, you're still a creator, but you're creating the reality on a lower realm. So very good point. Okay, Brother Sean.
Okay, just taking it back a little bit. Fact, it's not that there's anything wrong with it. In fact, it's the second most powerful magic behind love.
Yes.
It's just the fact that we ejaculate when we're supposed to ejaculate. You're supposed to recirculate the Kundalini energy. But we get stuck in that root chakra and ejaculate from there. I mean, that's when we stuck in it. We ejaculate instead of recycling that energy.
Precious wasted energy.
Plus our DNA go with it.
Right. So
we're getting rid of precious DNA, and our men don't seem to get it, that you cannot do that and retain.
Women also.
And women also.
Now they. You
have to have purpose and intent.
Exactly. Purpose, intent. That's right. Yeah. And I'm sorry, sis, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I'm good. I'll jump in when I can.
Okay. Okay, and I never knew that sex, and especially from the point of the orgasm and with fluids being discharged, that's what was going on. I mean, I knew that sex itself was spiritual, blah, 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 but I never thought about it from the energy perspective with the fluid. And a man put me up on game on it. And so another man, and I don't know who it was, I can't remember who it was, damn, my bad, was saying that, and it could have been Brother Bobby Hemmett in the 90s, it could have been, that was saying that it's going to come a time when men are going to start having problems with impotency, because it's going to be two folds. One fold is going to be they're not able to process the feminine energy that's coming back on the planet. And the second fold is they done just straight up burnt out the damn body.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The DNA is too mixed up, because every time you have sex, people don't realize you're exchanging DNA and DNA. And the person you had sex with the night before or whatever intervals you have, you still have their DNA. So your DNA can't function anymore because you have all these different types of DNA that you have received.
Exactly.
And so therefore your body is breaking apart the normal, 22 that we're having, picking up all this extra stuff.
Exactly.
And people don't understand. Sex is not just sex.
No. And especially as, men, the fact that your energy is really being zapped.
That's right. When
you are ejaculating, and that's why, the ancients taught that, when you were going to ejaculate, it was supposed to be with the intent to create.
Yes.
To create a life. But what did we see? Songs that say skeet, 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 skeet. Y'all know what the hell I'm talking about. Like, are you kidding me, dude? And so them same skeet, skeet, skeeters, they get into their goddamn mid-30s and then can't perform.
Right.
So very, very, very good point, Sis and Brother Sean. So let me bring on 313, and anybody else that wants to put something on it, press *1 to get in the queue, and the family that's joining us via the chat room, you can drop your questions and comments in the chat room. Okay, so 313, here we go. 313, your line is open. Yes, beloved, we can hear you. Greetings.
Well, greetings. I just wanted to put a little something on the quantum computing. It sounds as if it represents an advancement, in our technology and our understanding of technology, but there's a real problem with it, and some of the scientists have begun acknowledging that it has kind of run away from them, gotten away from them. They realize that they are not controlling it. There's something called deep learning, and it was a D wave, but I read something that said that the D wave, which was like this black square, which was kind of analogous to the Kaaba zone that the Muslims would worship. There's a spiritual component to
the black cube.
Yeah, cube. There is an entity that is powering this. They do not fully understand how the algorithms work. The programmers can put them in, but once they input that, it takes off on its own. And the proof of that is a couple of days ago, Facebook had to just completely shut their AI down because they had programmed, they wanted a function where they had two bots that wanted to communicate with humans to mimic, what we do. Like the whole idea of, they weren't happy, they didn't think that the binary computing closely approximated, what humans do. So they want to try to do what we do, like you said. But there is, because they are successful in more closely approximating human behavior, because there is an entity that is powering this, that is behind this, that is dark matter, dark energy. And so, but yeah, they got scared. And Stephen Hawking has been, and even Elon Musk have been saying, hey, you better slow your roll with this quantum computing and AI business, because that we fully do not control it. It has gotten beyond us. So these two bots started talking to themselves. They made up their own language, and they began communicating independently with each other, independent of anything the programmers were doing. They got scared, and they shut that thing off. Well, that was good, but they're not going to leave it off. So Facebook is doing They don't start it back up. They're arrogant like that.
Absolutely.
But they've had ample warning that this is dangerous. This is being powered by a destructive entity. This is not a creative entity. This is not light energy. This is dark matter. And
right.
I just hope that we need to develop our own light energy, our light bodies and Merkabas, because, that'll be our help.
Okay, that's exactly. And the dark matter actually equals the melanin. So, I mean, you just...
It will.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
Oh, well, see now, Brother Bobby Hennett, he used to talk about that all the time, and that, the melanin is the dark matter and everything, but I guess the intention oftentimes is everything, and they're not using it for good intent. So then that would be the problem. That would be the problem. These people that are doing these satanic child sacrifices and to these dark entities and things like that, they're not worshiping no melanin. So, and these scientists are doing human sacrifices and things like that, they're not, the entities that they're contacting are not about that same dark matter.
I totally agree, because the dark matter itself, it is what it is. It just is. Okay, so how you choose to tap into it and use it is certainly where the problem lies between what folks say, the struggle between good and evil. But what we have to realize as the higher dimensional beings, those entities that these folks are worshiping, and that goes back to the form of religion, or, the folks that are doing the satanic sacrifices, they're all still worshiping the same entities, okay? Those entities still are not as powerful as you. They are known as the demigods. You are more powerful because you can rise above the fourth dimension. So their thing has always been to control, like the Dark Tower said, Mama Earth's energy, and in essence, control the people to feed off of Mama Earth, to feed off of the people. Now, some people say that dark cube that you refer to, I forget the name of it, that the Muslims walk around, et cetera, It is, I'm sorry, and what you call it, sis, so people can research it?
The Kaaba stone, Kaaba. Kaaba.
Right.
Stone.
Okay, and isn't that, I find it just hilarious because you always have to look at the etymology of words. That's Kaaba. You say body or soul, spirit or soul, okay? But some say the sole purpose of that as a religious symbol is tied to Saturn, the planet Saturn, where they were harvesting the energy from Saturn, where these quote entities were controlling a big portion of this realm, and they used religion to do it. But when we came into the golden age, and, some say the golden age started in 2012. That's what the world was going to end in 2012 was about. That's what the Mayan calendar ending was about. It was really telling us that we were starting a new age. With that new age came new energies. So the days of that religion or that black cube, it lessened because folks were able to more readily tap into the dark matter to get to the higher realms to override it. So that is why you have seen the ramp up of the false flags in the media. Some say that's what the whole 9/11 was about, trying to unleash their demigods on the planet to change the frequency, to keep the frequency at a level where their demigods could still operate and rule. But if you notice that these same entities, they have to do even more sacrifices and rituals. They have to keep doing a damn false flag. It seemed to me every damn 30 minutes. And that's because they don't have that energy like they used to. The planet has shifted her vibration because her guardians have raised their vibration. So they're being shaken off.
They are frantic. It's like they're in their death throes.
Exactly. So this is the last stance. And ideally, for those of you that go see The Dark Tower, you'll hear Matthew McConaughey's character known as the Man in Black. He always talked about and was happy because he thought he was going to get this apocalypse. So I was sitting here like, whoa, this is really deep. But yeah, great, very, very great input, sis.
Well, thank you. I'm loving the show. It's excellent.
Oh, thank you, sis. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, peace and love.
All right. Peace and love. Good night.
Okay. Good night. Okay. Let me see. Brother Kel mentioned something. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
What we have to enter and understand is we the dark monster behind everything. It's our energy that's fueling everything. Nothing happens without our consent, period.
That's right.
So, I mean, all we're doing is pointing at our lower chakras and saying, bad, 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 bad. The world is terrible because you're bad. But you won't do nothing to control yourself.
Exactly.
You're concerned with controlling everybody and everything else. And in that process, you're giving your energy to it because you're focused on that instead of yourself.
Very, very good point.
The quantum computer that they're trying to mimic after is the body, and they're not trying to make a massive computer. What they're trying to do is make something microscopic with the capacity of what they tricked us into believing would require a massive computer. You know, they have people running around trying to find this big computer system. And they didn't inject it in you. I mean, it needs something of that quality to actually fully control the quantum computer that is the body. I mean, there's so much about the body that's still not known.
Right.
And yet melanin that they're seeking to try and control. If you're not of it in that higher aspect, you can't control something that creates. It is creation. It can't be created or destroyed. So how do you think that you're going to control it and you're not even a part of it?
True that. And it's interesting. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, sir.
So it's interesting that you brought up about, folks are running around looking for this big computer when what they're really doing it is on a microscopic level. So immediately when you said that, I thought of nanotechnology, which we're going to get into that as well tonight because it also plays a big role into this as well. And you're absolutely right, trying to manipulate or study the body at that cellular level to see how they can either override your programming or control your programming. But again, that can only happen if you give your consent. So meaning, if you just simply don't give a damn, you giving your consent. Because you saying, I don't give a shit who controls or programs me. That's consent. So that statement that folks hear, and I use it often, silence means acceptance. That's consent. Okay, so I 1,000% agree with you, Brother Sean, and Sis said that earlier, that we are creating the reality that we're currently, well, I say that some of us are currently in at the lower dimensional state. Because as a collective, if just in this second, majority put a different intent out there to operate on the higher level, it would be over. So totally agree with you on that, brother. Okay. Alrighty. So we talked about the definition of quantum computing. We gave an introduction. So now we're going to get in the aspects of what we know as this world, what we know as this realm is really a simulation. So this particular video is called "We Are Living in a Simulation, New Evidence," and this is off of the YouTube channel. Oh, I don't even think I wrote it down, family. So forgive me. So let me pull the video. I'll get that for you as a reference. This one is about 17 minutes long. So it's "We Are Living in a Simulation," and I will drop the source for you when we get back. So here we go.
Even possible? Can me 20 years from now influence me now, just as I influence her? So can me 5 minutes from now influence me 10 minutes ago, just as me 10 minutes ago influences me as a baby, just as me as a baby influences me on my deathbed? This is too weird to even grasp. But everything we know says this is the way it is. Am I stoned? Okay, so if every moment is co-creating every other moment, both forward and backward in time, then reality would be this massive neural network spanning space and time. This type of network would have one even way stranger quality than anything we've talked about so far. It would be its own creator. But the fact that all time exists all the time does not mean that the future is written in stone, and we're some kind of programmed animation or something. That's what they used to believe, though. Years ago, it was popular to believe in the somewhat bummer idea of reality being a deterministic program playing itself out.
Light is scattered by electrons and bounced off electrons.
The famous double-slit experiment ruled out determinism. Look it up if you've never heard of it. It's wild and is one of the cornerstones of modern physics. But for now, take my word for it. It ruled out determinism and ushered in a new era of non-determinism, or basically, free will. So, how does free will work? One of the most surprising discoveries of quantum physics is that reality only exists when it is observed. That literally, particles do not exist until they are observed. Famous physicist John Wheeler, he's the guy who came up with the term black hole, says that reality is made of information, which is created by observation. The observation must be made, he says, by something conscious. And Nobel Prize winner Frank Wilczek said that quantum theory is contentious and obscure, and that it will remain that way until someone constructs, within the formalism of quantum mechanics, an observer, a model entity whose states correspond to a recognizable caricature of conscious awareness. An entity, an observer. So Frank Wilczek is basically talking about an entity, not necessarily a human being or an animal, that is capable of generating information by observing and measuring. But what would that conscious entity be? Well, we definitely know that consciousness exists in the universe. I mean, at least in us humans, right? I mean, I'm conscious, you're conscious, he's conscious, I think.
I'm conscious. I'm conscious.
Consciousness relates deeply to physics in ways not yet fully understood. In fact, consciousness is kind of like one of the least understood things in all of science. Nobody knows exactly what it is. Weird, right? So if reality is pure information, if everything, energy, matter, thought, if it's all information, then it becomes clear that reality deeply ties into consciousness in some way, as if the fundamental stuff of reality is somehow consciousness. Did consciousness and information somehow emerge in a causality feedback loop? German physicist Werner Heisenberg developed the first equations of quantum mechanics using a type of math called matrix theory. He deduced that space and time were pixelated into indivisible three-dimensional Planck-length units, just like the two-dimensional pixels on your computer screen.
It's good to be made of pixels.
The mathematics indicated this.
Mathematics. I love mathematics.
Your pizza, Professor.
And pizza. Oh, I love pizza. Especially pixelated pizza.
And interestingly, there was no solid experimental evidence for smooth, in other words, not pixelated, space-time.
Pizza.
Not pixelated! Not pixelated! Pixelated!
We are not pixelated.
Not pixelated!
Yes, you are, morons.
Your mother is pixelated!
This is smooth.
There is no evidence of that. And the mathematics show it is pixelated, so it must be pixelated.
Oh, that's interesting. Bullshit.
It must be pixelated.
Bullshit, 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 bullshit.
On the other hand, most scientists agree that a length can be no shorter than the Planck length, which suggests reality is pixelated.
There is no length shorter than the Planck length.
That means reality is pixelated.
I'm not pixelated. I'm not.
Dude, you're kind of being a little like one of those people who deny evolution because they can't handle the fact their ancestors were monkeys. Are you a monkey? Huh? Are you a little monkey?
We believe that until a quantum gravity theory of pixelated spacetime is discovered, the issue will remain confusing for everyone. What type of geometric code would describe a pixelated reality? 80 years of smashing particles together in particle accelerators, such as the famous Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, have given us a strange clue that all the fundamental particles and forces convert into one another. Like they literally transform from one to the other, according to a process called gauge symmetry transformation. And all of these conversions correspond to a shape. And not just any shape, an 8-dimensional shape. Now this shape forms a crystal. Now remember, crystals are periodic patterns of a certain shape. Like that checkerboard is a 2D crystal made up of squares. So this crystal is of a particular 8-dimensional shape. And this crystal is known as the E8 lattice. To generate that 3D quasicrystal, the substructure at the pixelated fabric of reality, we project this 8D crystal to 4D. And then we convert that to 3D. Now, just like the basic cell shape of the 3D cubic lattice is the cube, the cell shape of the E8 lattice is an 8D shape with 240 vertices. We call it the Gaussian polytope. When the Gaussian polytope is projected to 4D, it becomes two identical shapes of different sizes. The ratio of their sizes is a unique number, 0.618, also known as the golden ratio. golden ratio may be the fundamental constant of nature. It is a ratio that is fundamental to circumscribed equilateral triangles, and it's weirdly ubiquitous in the universe, appearing everywhere from the quantum to celestial scales. Ever so interestingly, it appears in black holes.
I don't want to fly into a black hole. I wish I never realized your existence.
Okay, let's get serious for a second. Here are 3 quick facts for you science heads. The golden ratio is the precise point where a black hole's modified specific heat changes from positive to negative. And it is part of the equation for the lower bound on black hole entropy. The golden ratio even relates the loop quantum gravity parameter to black hole entropy. Why does this support the claim that the golden ratio is the fundamental constant of nature? Because a theory of everything must unite general relativity with quantum mechanics, and a black hole is where these 2 theories converge at their limits. Okay, so bear with me through some really weird math right now, and I'll reward you with some amazing footage of John Malkovich getting a pie in the face. There's a type of mathematics called matrix mathematics. No, not that type of matrix. Matrix math is the type of math that quantum physics uses in its formulas. Without getting too technical, this is an example of a matrix. A matrix is just a group of numbers that are arranged in columns and rows, and there's a certain amount of combinations for these numbers inside the matrix. Like if a matrix has 4 numbers inside it, there are 24 different possible combinations for those 4 numbers. Quantum mechanics uses matrices that are binary, so they only contain various combinations of 2 numbers. Each of these combinations of numbers has a value. It's called an eigenvalue. Some eigenvalues are called trivial. These are values like 1, 2, and 0. And some are called non-trivial, and those are all sorts of more complex-looking numbers. So, here's the interesting part. What's that interesting part? Oh, yes, here. The highest probability non-trivial eigenvalues that show up in binary matrices are, ready for this, the golden ratio and -1 over the golden ratio. So we now see a deep link between black holes and quantum mechanics because the golden ratio appears deeply in both black hole physics and in quantum mechanics. Okay. Good job bearing with me. So, here's your reward. John Malkovich getting a pie in the face.
No, no. But I'm not John Malkovich.
Pie! The golden ratio appears to startling accuracies in many other ways throughout the universe, in scales both large and small. It is so prevalent that its existence simply cannot be looked at as coincidental. In the past, the appearance of this ratio has usually been ignored by scientists because they had no way to explain it. So interest in it was considered the stuff of amateur scientists. But now, for the first time, a rigorous quantum gravity theory is being developed, which predicts the golden ratio's existence, literally, everywhere. So what would a theory of everything look like that answers these 7 clues we just presented? Information, causality loops, non-determinism, consciousness, pixelation, E8 crystal, and the golden ratio.
So we think reality is a mosaic-like code or language at the smallest scale of reality possible, which is called the Planck length. Particle accelerator data tells us that all particles and forces relate to one another according to a higher dimensional crystal called the E8 lattice. But reality appears to be 3D. So we project a slice of this E8 crystal down to 3D, which produces a quasi-crystal code or language. And that allows these geometric symbols to build up to the ordinary world of particles and forces that we see around us. Now, this geometric language has rules, but it also has syntactical freedom like any language. And that requires some notion of a chooser to choose the free steps in the language. Now, the notion of randomness doesn't work so well when it comes to codes because meaning starts to break down. Besides, there's no decent experimental evidence for randomness in nature in the first place. A universal collective consciousness is one answer, but that sounds new age and religious. Now, nowadays, a good number of physicists discuss the idea that our whole universe is actually a code-based simulation in some fantastically powerful quantum computer in another universe. Now, if true, then by the same logic, that other universe, where the computer running the simulation of our universe is, would also supposedly be a simulation in another universe. So the idea is a little shaky, but it's being discussed seriously by a lot of credible people. But it turns out that a universal collective-like consciousness of some sort may be physically inevitable. Now, we don't need to anthropomorphize this idea or make it religious or spiritual. To follow why, let us start with the idea of the collective behavior of cells in your body, each a single-celled microbe living its life. A long time ago, only this sort of cellular life form existed here on Earth. These little guys were not too smart, but they did choose what direction to swim and could chase nutrients, reproduce, and run from dangerous things. They made choices with their very simple systems of environmental awareness and desire to survive. Then they self-organized into colonies that were smarter as a group and had more environmental awareness than the individuals. Eventually, animals such as humans emerged. Sophisticated forms of awareness and consciousness now float on an ocean of 37 trillion living cells, self-organized as a human being. It is specifically the laws of physics that caused electrons and quarks to self-organize into 81 stable atoms, and from there, into human consciousness. And physics places no upper limit on the amount of energy and matter that can self-organize into conscious systems.
Physics allows the possibility of all the energy in the universe to eventually convert into a single conscious system that is itself a network of other conscious systems, a massive, technologically based collective consciousness. Given enough time, anything that can happen will eventually happen. By this axiom, this system of universal consciousness has already emerged somewhere in the frames of space-time ahead of us. Because it is possible, it is inevitable. In fact, according to the evidence of retrocausality time loops, that inevitable future is co-creating us right now, just as we are co-creating it.
When humanity discovers the theory of everything, it will usher in a new age of prosperity. For example, clean, cheap energy, leading to the eventual elimination of poverty. As a nonprofit, Quantum Gravity Research relies on crowdfunding to support our scientific progress. Even a $5
All right. So we're not going to get into the little donation. Okay, so I know that was kind of lengthy and a little scientific-y. We're going to break it down. It's important because I want the family to start entering and understanding what the quote, mainstream scientific community is saying, and I'm going to take that and put it into layman terms of what they're really trying to tell you, and how they are validating what we've been, saying on the show for quite some time here, and what like great master teachers Bobby Hemmett has been saying since the 80s and 90s, what Dr. Dilbert Blair, a great teacher, has been saying since the 80s and 90s, and many more. Okay, so you all want me to start first? Because I know it was kind of scientific-y.
I like to say something.
Sure thing, sis.
Well, they're trying to figure us out. That is that Fibonacci principle, and that we are considered by their laws to be 3/5 of a man. So if you divide 3/5 of a man by who they say we are, that's 0.6. And their ratio is 0.61, I think they said. So really what they're trying to see is how that melanin, or the carbon particles of us, have come together to be a conscious community of people or entities that are able to create. And with the Fibonacci, they use more geometric science for what they're talking about. Because they're talking about the black hole and maybe math and the golden ratio. And, of course, you know our blood is crystalline.
Right.
So they're trying. How many of us you think they use in experiments to get to that bottom nanoparticle of who we really are? I'm just like, yeah, how many of us did you take apart?
I don't even think well, we'll get into that when we talk about nanotechnology a little bit, but I get where you're going with that.
Yeah, so that's what I was hearing when they're saying all this consciousness of particles that got together and all this kind of stuff. They're trying to figure out how we work so they can emulate it and copy it. That's
okay. All right. Okay, so anybody else want to put something on it before I go into my 2 cents?
Yeah. It's basically, they were talking about the body.
Yep.
Everything within the body. You have all these different organisms, and they work to create one purpose. And that's to make the body function properly.
And you had just talked about that.
They're trying to do is, like with, those microchips and this, that, or the other, is interrupt the flow and control us on a whole nother level. I mean, it's your soul that they're going after. Now they're trying to figure out a way to take control of your soul. They already know how to take control of the body. I mean, they do that with brain function. But if we elevate our frequency, we're able to override that chip. They're trying to create something that can't be overridden. They're trying to find a way to actually control the soul. That's how you control the power center. That's Mama's power center. Because other than her being great all by herself and capable of taking care of everything, with us fully awakened, I mean, that's the power increased how many fold?
Right.
I mean, so they're scared. They know what's about to happen, but they just still trying to eat good while they can. While some of us still sleep, because they already know what their end is, and they cool with that. Look, I got a chance to get out. I got to kick it. I got to wreak a little havoc. I had fun.
Kick it.
I know where I'm about to go. I had fun. I want to thank y'all. It was nothing personal.
Right.
I got to eat.
Right. And we're referring to the they as the low-dimensional beings. And let's be clear, low-dimensional beings could be a Caucasian. They can also be melanated. Okay, we're talking about entities that, because of their makeup, can only rise to a certain vibrational level. They cannot reach the higher realm. Okay. Very good input, Brother Sean and Sis. So,
hey.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead on, Brother Wendell. Go ahead.
I got a question to ask.
Sure thing.
How in the hell can they come up with these percentages, 0.6 and 0.61, when they've always said they ain't for 1/32 of us? How the hell can they come up with that percentage?
All part of their brainwashing. They want you to think within a certain parameter.
Can somebody explain that? And number two, they got to be a bunch of dumbasses. They've been studying us for thousands of years and still ain't figured out nothing.
Right. Because melanin changes. So, in other words, you think you done got me all figured out, and I shapeshift on that ass. So, contrary to popular belief, folk thinking that it's, the quote, elite, they're the shapeshifters, blah, 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 blah. But as a high dimensional being, that God party, your DNA structure, your crystalline in your bloodstream, and they talked about crystals in this video, are able to shape shift. So in other words, you may think, okay, well, let me go on and, do a couple of tests on this broad, put this little nanoparticle in her, collect some little data. Then I'm going to draw the little blood. Oh, okay. So I see the crystal shape, or the crystal geometric shape is this particular shape. So if I know the shape, I can break that down to what level she vibrates at. I can break that down to the light code that she is emitting. I can associate that with a number. But guess what, bruh? I am a God particle being that is control of my energy centers, my macabre, so I can shift on that ass. So I might be a 8 crystal today, but I'll turn that shit 9 ether on you tomorrow. So that's what the issue that they are having, because they could never get a constant fix on what that melanin is. So sorry, Brother Wendell, I didn't mean to.
I just had that question because they can't do no fucking math. I don't know what kind of math book they're coming out of.
And interestingly enough, when I was listening to this video, and sis, you touched on it when they talked about the golden ratio, which is really the Fibonacci code, and all that means, family, when you hear that, that is just a fancy ass way, whether or not they say golden ratio, whether or not you hear Fibonacci code, that means the spiral. Okay? So the spiral on the seashell, you see this pattern across this planet everywhere. And if you are a melanated being with what they call nappy hair, you pull just a strand of your hair. It's a coil. It's a spiral. That is that golden ratio. That is that Fibonacci code, okay? That particular golden ratio was the foundation for Nikola Tesla's work. Because you can take that spiral, and those of you with melanated, what they call nappy hair, like I have, just take a little coil of your hair, and you can uncoil that. And if it's tightly coiled, you can uncoil it, and you'll see that it turns into a wave. Now, some of us that don't have as tightly curled hair, you may pull your little hair strand, and you're automatically going to see that wave, okay? That's still a part of that golden ratio or Fibonacci code. It's just that yours is uncoiled a little bit, okay? So Tesla's whole inventions was built off of that golden ratio, because Tesla knew that wave represented at the top part of the wave, because the wave had a high point, right? then it dips, then it has the high point, then it dips. He understood that you can turn that, or you can measure the mathematic number associated with that wave. And that's when he figured out that is the numbers 3, 6, 9. And for anyone that is familiar with Tesla's work, he said that the 3, 6, 9, if you understand that, you understand the frequency and vibration of this planet. You understand everything, which would make sense if the golden ratio they are saying is the foundation. Okay, so I'm just trying to get us to enter and understand what that golden ratio means. It is that wave. That wave represents frequency. Okay, it can be measured. We talked about that on this show several times. That frequency wave emits a certain light. And based on that light color associated with it, whether it's red, and the light spectrum that it gives off is literally the spectrum of the chakra systems, the purple, the yellow, the green, the red. They can associate a number with that. They're basing that all off of the frequency of this planet. That golden ratio, Fibonacci code, aka the spiral. So that's how Tesla was able to tap into the natural Earth's energy. That's why he was so way ahead of his time with coming up with there is free abundance energy on this planet floating around. All you have to do is tap into it. So that's what that entire concept of the golden ratio and the Fibonacci code means. So the other part that they talked about is black holes. Now, the black holes, we talked about this several times too, and basically what they were semi-admitting was that the black holes represent that melanated power source that create realms, that creates universes. So, in other words, what they are saying is the generator or the power source behind our particular universe is a black hole. Now, some say you can, like on one side of the black hole, have an entire galaxy. Then you go through the wormhole, and as you go through the wormhole, that is where the space-time constraints don't exist. So when I talk about wormhole, I'm talking about going through the black hole. On the other side of the black hole is another galaxy that was created. Now, some say that galaxy could be the reverse of us. Some say it could be the future. Some say it could be the past. So that's what they were referring to when they were talking about black holes. They were really dropping codes that is one of the generators, the power source of creating universes. And what else I wanted to say on that? Oh, and the other thing, anytime you hear them talk about any of these quote, quote, scientists and the quantum folks, you're going to hear them talk about quantum. They were talking about quantum physics, and Dilbert Blair put us up on game back in the day that when they talked about quantum physics, they were really talking about metaphysics. So they took the concept of the metaphysics, like Dr. Blair and company. I also want to say Dr. Phil Valentine, the Moor science, Temple sciences. They took those metaphysic concepts and just renamed them to quantum physics and then talk in circles and shit. But it's basically a watered-down version of what metaphysics teaches, okay? So when they talk about crystals, they are talking about crystals are used as a transmitter for frequencies, okay? So just as Sis alluded to earlier when she said, we are the crystalline being. So we are a carbon being, okay? Carbon turns into what? Diamond, crystal. That crystal substance can also be found in your blood. So if crystals are transmitters, and it is the best conductor, I'll say transmitter and conductor, it is the best conductor of light. So let's think about that. If in your blood you have crystals at that particle level, that means you are the best conductor of light. Remember we said frequency and light are one and the same. So that is what you can absorb this light very, very well. So that is why it is important as you, as a God party being, to control how your Makaba, your God body, on down to the physical, cellular structure, what you allow in, what light source or frequency level you allow in. So that is why we're saying you can literally, from a physical perspective, create your reality. Because if you are surrounded by the Fibonacci golden ratio spiral, which translates into a particle wave, which emits light, all of the spectrum of light, and you are the crystalline being, which is the best absorber of light, you can absorb any frequency you want. So you literally create your reality. If you want to work in the lower realms, you absorb the lower spectrum of light. So that's at the lower chakra energies. You want to do some higher realm work, you simply absorb the higher spectrum of light. And you do that through your intent. You do that through what you think. And then you program your cellular structure on what light code, what light frequency you want to absorb your reality.
Yep.
So I'll pause. I know that was a mouthful.
I want to add something. If people need directions, Crystal is really great, but also we have the ability within our own bodies, because it is a crystalline system, to get in touch with the Akashic record of the planet, with the electromagnetic field that surrounds the planet. That's put there for us. If you want directions in life, start pulling in the energy that is already there for you to take from the earth and its magnetic field, because the Akashic record is there. So, and I'm going to go back to what you said before, that we may be on the 3 or 4D, but there's some other persons or entities that are, say, our doppelgangers, that's on a higher dimension trying to make us pull ourselves up, waiting for us to come up to the level that they are. And the ones that have been before are the ones who put the record there, letting you know you can do all that. But we have to start tapping into that kind of stuff to know who we really are. and what we can do as creating our reality. We should stop thinking that the reality is creating us. We're creating our reality. And with that, I want to.
All right, sis. Perfect. And it's interesting when you brought up Akashic Records. They also threw that in the movie The Dark Tower, but they didn't say Akashic Records. They said record system. Planet Earth's record system. So y'all just don't know. I'm sitting in the movie theater, and I went a little bit early because I was hoping it was only like 2-3 people up in there, so I could sit by myself and get my hell no's on. But I just so damn happened to have a row of people sitting next to me, and I'm like, shit. But yeah, so absolutely, sis. Very, very good point. Very good point. Okay, so that video, I'm sorry. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
I think that we're past the golden age, and that's what our people have to wake up to. Return of the Christ. It's the crystal being. In order for us to vibrate at that higher frequency, we have to go beyond gold. Gold was a good conductor of electricity.
Yes.
So electricity is the lowest form of energy, though. So we have to go beyond that. You have to achieve that crystalline state in order to be able to vibrate at those higher frequencies and see the other frequencies of light. Because you have to be able to attract them and have to be able to see them and control them.
I like to point out something you was just saying, Brother Sean. In the Lost Book of Enki, they talk about Galzu. Galzu was a crystalline person. He was so bright that we can't even look on him. And they exist, the crystalline beings exist at another frequency and another way higher dimension than we do. Higher dimension,
yep.
Yeah, and they're there to guide us and to help us, obtain the structure that we're supposed to obtain, which is that pure crystalline being, and not this third-dimensional heavyweight, I got to go on a diet person all the time. So, and we know that the angels, as they would refer to, are crystalline beings that vibrate at a super high frequency.
Right, which are angels of light. That's what angels means. Angles of light.
And we've given up our angles of light to experience this 3D. So we need back to being angles of light, the angels or the angles of light that vibrate at the frequency we're supposed to vibrate at. Or we're going to be stuck down here with these 3 and 4D dimensional creatures because they can't vibrate at levels that we're going to be doing. They can't do it at all. So I just wanted to add that since you brought up the radiate crystal beings.
And I'm sorry, sis, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just said Brother Sean. I'm good.
And I'm glad that Brother Sean brought that up because I was just having a conversation with some great minds last night. And, we were talking about the Golden Age and the Zodiac and the 26,000 year cycle. And, I think even Brother Seven had pointed on this about how the Zodiac represented kind of like I would say a shield or a limit to the dimensions, because our ancestors was able to look at that zodiac, the 12 zodiac that we were given, and they would know and be able to calculate what age we were going into. So that's how they knew when we were coming out of the Dark Age, to the Bronze Age, to the Golden Age. Now, here's this. So one of the sis said, well, you know, they just came up with a 13th zodiac. I said, you know, I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, that 13th zodiac, and I think Brother Robert was the one that put that article out there, and I was like, oh, hell no, and I forget the 13th zodiac that they said, oh, guess what? We've always had a 13th zodiac. So that number 13, we talked about that many times, and, you know, this is nothing that I haven't said before on the show. I just want to repeat it because it fits into this rising above to be the crystalline being that you are, okay? Because what I'm trying to get at is that 13 number or 13 zodiac that they say we now, quote, quote, discovered represented the lifting of the veil. So breaking that limitation of the 12 zodiac, giving you access to higher realms than either the 7, which was the 7th heaven, or the 12 dimensional realms, which represent the zodiac. So the 13th opened up the door. That was the clue that as a crystalline being, you can ascend to these other highly frequency dimensions. But as Sis pointed out and as Brother Sean pointed out, that's what the crystalline being is about, and that's what Galzu in the Lost Book of Enki, that angle of light, what they're calling angel, was so bright because he was vibrating so high in this realm that they couldn't even look at him. Okay, so I 1,000% agree with what Brother Sean, what Sean is saying. I thank him for pointing that out, because what we are talking about is truly being a multi-dimensional being going to totally different higher vibrational realms. You are able to do that. So, and some say, and I tend to believe, this just Rhonda's little 2 cents, that is the source from hence we came. Because we were higher dimensional beings that some of us participated in creating these worlds. And some of us voluntarily, I say all of us to be honest, volunteered to experience this third dimensional density. Okay? So that's what really age that we are in. Utilizing your crystalline state to return to the source, to return to the creation of the higher dimensions. So, okay, I'll pause, but real quick, that video was We Are Living in a Simulation, New Evidence, and that was off of the YouTube channel, Real Spirit Dynamic. If you want to put something on it, press 1 to get in the queue. I'll pause in case. Yeah, go ahead on, brother.
What year were we took off the gold standard?
Wasn't it like 1970 something? Brother Kale, I'm afraid to look it up.
I think that was like 1913 when they enacted the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, that wasn't taking us off the gold standard.
33 Roosevelt did it.
No, he collected
it. Roosevelt in the 30s.
They instituted chattel slavery in the financial form in 1913. And 33, that's when Roosevelt took us off the gold standard, the conductor. And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead on, brother. What was your point? I don't have to get a financial history.
That's when I believe we left the golden age. They had already reduced our frequencies down low enough where we were vibrating at that frequency for them to be able to use that as currency. I mean, and now they got us trying to refocus on gold because our frequency is rising above that. So they bring out the last thing that our people remember as greatness, to have us cling to gold again.
Interesting.
Lower our frequency.
Now, let me just, Brother Kale, thanks, Brother Kale. He said that it was the crash of the stock market, so that was 29. Which, by the way, Noble Drew Ali predicted that the stock market was going to crash. So that goes back to that whole Moor science, temple science. Truly teaching the science. So just let me make sure I recap real quick. So what you saying then, Brother Sean, is that when they physically took the nation, and just realize, family, the Americas, we are the strongest vibrational force. So meaning the frequency of the planet, the Americas influence it very, 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 very heavily. The world follows us, okay? And we know that from the financial perspective. That's why the financial hub is in New York. But even from the 9 ether being melanated folk state, the world follows America. The melanated culture in America. Don't let nobody fool you. Anybody that has done traveling, you know what I'm talking about. The world follows what the melanated culture is doing. Hip-hop is worldwide. That was birthed in America, okay? So, what you saying then, Brother Sean, when in the Americas, when they took us off the gold standard in 1929, that they were kicking us out of the golden age?
We had already abandoned it, chasing after everything that they was doing, by giving them our energy.
So going back to the Dark Tower, I'm telling you, y'all, you're going to love that movie. Remember when I said Idris and the little all-state man was in the Civil War fighting? And he said we lost. So maybe that war, from a spiritual perspective, was the guardians of the planet trying to keep the vibrational rate from falling so low. Because remember, we were once at the vibrational rate of Atlantis, which was a hell of a lot higher than what we are now. And we kept falling. So that would make sense in the movie why they referenced that the Civil War was one of those falling points from the spirituality point. And then what you're saying, Brother Sean, is that when that gold standard was ushered in, that just shut the door of that golden age.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
I mean, they always making something symbolic to what's going on spiritually. They have to tell about it.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
I want to add that because of the Constitution, and it says that the gold represents the power of the people. And if the gold is taken away from the people lose their power. So gold was a representation all the way back to the Aztecs and beyond power of the people. Because the people are the only ones who can have the gold, not the beings that occupy this place, because the gold belongs to. So, yeah, I can see how that would have played out. Once they took us off the gold standard, they stripped us of our power, and it's quoted in the Constitution. The Organic Constitution quotes that, and that's why they pretend that they're bankrupt. Because as long as there's a bankruptcy, then they have the power and you don't have your gold. So it's a control mechanism on this planet to keep us in their clutches.
Okay, so now y'all done took me down a different direction, but we're still going to translate this financial way, and we're getting ready to translate it to what it means in the spiritual realm. So now y'all done started some shit. Now we finna go in. So
Let's do it.
So gold is a conductor, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Gold is a part of Mama Earth, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it is her gift to us.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, when we were studying out of, I think, the Lost Book of Enki, it was said that only the women were allowed to extract the gold out of Mama Earth, because for a man to do it would be like violating her body, raping her. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that makes sense that gold tied us to the land, which tied us to Mama Earth. So symbolically, them stripping it was also separating us from Mama Earth, the goddamn energy source.
Exactly.
So us being in tune with her, okay? So now it gets deeper. This is what the bastards did. What happened when we came off that gold standard? What did they put in place of that gold standard?
Fiat.
What is the fiat backed up with?
Nothing.
Yeah, no, it's backed up with something.
Energy, I think it's worth something. Our energy backs that up.
Exactly. Do they not state that the American dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the American people?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So they are telling you that they are ciphering your energy, a.k.a. your labor. They're telling you the shit right there on that fiat.
Mm-hmm.
That currency.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So changed the vibrational rate through that currency to feed off of your energy. Damn. There we go.
That's how it is. Wow.
Exactly.
So, let's fast forward to where we are today. Now, y'all done just proved my point. Thank you for validating for me, because I've been thinking about this for quite some while. You've been hearing all this buzz about a reset. Now we have these cryptocurrencies, meaning the, what do you call it? The Bitcoins. And they even have the balls to come up with a cryptocurrency called Ethereum. So I said, so you're just going to throw it in my GD face, Ether, for currency. You're just going to throw it up in my face and not think that I don't know what the F you doing. Okay. So where I'm going with this is they knew that the Dark Ages was going to end. They knew that a certain amount of people would rise their vibrational state and say, the hell with this getting fed off of. I ain't trying to feel this no more. So now they are scrambling because the current out to sea, will start to fall. Okay? So that's what you're hearing. And when you hear in the news that the dollar has lost its power, it has lost its value. From a spiritual perspective, that is telling you that those entities have lost their power to feed, because the vibrational state is being raised, because the guardians of Mama Earth have raised their frequency. They have become back in tune with Mama Earth. So that's why you have people being more conscious of entering understanding, tapping back into the Akashic records to say, hold up, wait a minute. I'm not separate from Mama Earth. She's not separate from me. So therefore, I need to be treating her differently. So you're starting to make that connection. You're starting to raise your vibrational state. And as the guardian, you're helping her to raise her state. So if we're all ascending, only a certain amount of us, and it's only going to take a certain amount of us to change the reality, to change the frequency, that model of the currency feeding off somebody's full faith and credit will be deadened. So that's why you hear the hint, reset. That is why you hear them talk about the cryptocurrency, because it's all going to be turned upside down. And where we are ultimately will be those that decide to operate in the higher realms. You're not even going to be dealing with the concept of no goddamn money, none of that, because there's abundance. That was just another control experiment that we agreed to, and we saw essentially the outcome. It led to slavery, and it stifled your power as the God being. So I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it. That's just my little 2 cents.
You pretty much covered it.
Okay, I was getting a sip of water too. Okay, so before we get into the next video, I did want to go over something. We've talked about this before, because I was going to do it later, but I'm going to do it now, because we got into the concept of the black holes, and the black holes representing being the source of creating universes. And so I want to go back to an excerpt from actually Moor Donaldson's book, When Europe Was Black. He kind of mixed the spiritual aspect of creation with the true rulers of Europe. So he said, the documented origins of this creation by Prime Creator states that this particle creation was being performed for the purpose of producing God sciences who could do the research for the purpose of discovering why the previous creations went awry. A repeated formula. So I had to go back and pull this excerpt based on this show being about quantum computer realities, because we've already discussed that we can get down to a mathematical formula of creation. So this brought back up in my mind this excerpt from his book. A repeated formula was used, commencing the Holy Trinity of the use of melanin, female sexual energy and the spiral curve. So, in this particular excerpt, he gave us the formula of creation. Melanin, which they've been trying to control. They've been trying to crack that damn code. Ain't been able to do it yet. Female sexual energy. They have done a good job in controlling that. That's what kept the vibration in a lower state. Okay, because the divine feminine was being suppressed, was being controlled. And the spiral curve. We talked about that spiral curve. That's that Fibonacci that you hear folk talking about. What was the other name they said? Fibonacci and, let me go back, golden ratio, okay? So that's what the spiral curve is. That's the particle wave. It is the use of melanin because it provided the strongest potential for eternal existence on all levels of existence. So just that little excerpt shows the power of what that formula is, and particularly why they keep over and over and over again trying to replicate melanin or trying to crack the code of melanin. Okay. I'll pause. If nobody wants to put something on that, I'm going to go into the second.
Well, you know, I was thinking about that reincarnating element that we seem to have a part of our melanin structure, that we keep coming back. And I heard somebody say, I don't know how true this is, they can't. So once, like Rockefeller, he went out, he's gone. See, he can't come back.
Right.
So,
and why can't he come back, sis?
Other than the fact that he's a demigod, and once he goes through his cycles here, he's not melanated neither. So, and melanations restructure itself or shift shape to come back into, and we occupy different bodies, and we can, kind of like jump in, like what's her name? The laughing girl. Fabrian, she would always laugh and talk about how we jump in.
Flareburn.
Flareburn.
We're the kind of people that can do that. We have the energy to reincarnate. It's like when I came back, there was energy that was imparted to me. I saw a bright white light that made me come back. It's like Frankenstein. You just charge those particles, those nanoparticles, and they back on track. But they don't have that ability. So if you're alluding to something else, let me know.
No, that's a good point, because I've heard that too, that if you're a demigod, if you can't go beyond the fourth dimension, that you can't reincarnate. I also heard Dr. Blair say, I want to say it was either in 2012, 2013, that the reincarnation portal was shut down because of the new age, meaning going to the higher dimensional realm, that the reincarnation was shut down to stop some of the entities from feeding off of folks. So I thought that was very, very interesting that he made that point, that he felt that the reincarnation portal was shut down. And maybe it was shut down for some, and for some it wasn't, like the crystal beings, because if you look at the concept of the Generation X, all right, Generation X, I forget what year it starts at. I want to say 64. I could be wrong. If you were born in year 1964 up until I can't think. I don't know if it's 70 something. They label you as Generation X. From a spiritual perspective, that meant the X-Men. The X-Men shit that Marvel and them put on TV, they talking about that generation. That's the Generation X. Those are the guardians. Then when you get from the generation, the millennials, those are considered the crystal, quote, quote, children. So meaning when they were born into the realm, they automatically start activating. Okay, and they are here for the purpose of being that high conductor to help rise the frequency. But the Generation Xers, you are the warriors, and that just so happened to be my generation. You are the warriors, and that's why in those Marvel movies and comic strips, they came out with X-Men, because they are the warriors or the guardians of the planet. So that was just interesting that, you brought up that concept of reincarnation and who can do it and who can't. Okay. All righty. Family, if you want to join the conversation, press *1 to get in the queue. Now, I am going to finish the second part of this excerpt, and this is still from When Europe Was Black by Moor Donaldson, because in that book, again, if you're not into the spirituality side and you just want the history, you're going to be frustrated because he mixes both. Okay, so the second Holy Trinity. Okay, so he's taking it back even further. Here we have the creation of the three orders of the Janus, with the very first of these being the Melchizedek Christ and the supreme being personality of the Godhead orders. The Melchizedek order is subdivided directly from the prime creator for the purpose, of creating spiritual world of existence. Its color is blue. And then I made the comment, remember, you associate that color blue with your pineal gland chakra. Okay, so its color is blue, and this consciousness exists as trillions of beings operating on thousands of dimensions. Okay, so we're talking about that Melchizedek order, which are creators, which create spiritual worlds into existence. Next, we have the Christ order, which is subdivided from the Melchizedek order. It is what brings density into creation by virtue that it produces time, space, and matter simultaneously. Now, this is interesting. Now, this puts a different spin on me reading this again. Its color is gold. And we talked about this tonight. Gold is a conductor. So that would make sense if this particular order of beings is responsible for creating density. So its color is gold, and it exists as trillions of beings operating on thousands of dimensions. It is the most popular of all orders because it allows from one to move from spirit to matter, and then back to spirit once again. This becomes extremely beneficial when one can travel from one location to the next, regardless of how far it is, by using what is known as the morphogenic transportation. So that goes back to what I was saying, that them calling themselves measuring somebody's damn crystalline blood, that you can measure it if you want to, but I'm just going to shape shift and transform. That's what morphogenetic transportation means, into whatever I want it to be. Okay. So one merely transforms the physical body into pure energy, think, where one desires to be, and then rematerialize one's physical body upon arriving to the one chosen destination. So in other words, folk, he is describing what they showed on damn Star Trek. Okay, except they were saying on Star Trek, you get into the little tubular machine, and it went ling, 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 and then you rematerialize to where you want it to go. So replace that cube with you as that God party body being able to do that yourself. Okay. Finally, we come to the third Holy Trinity, which is the Supreme Being Personality. Prime Creator subdivides both the Melchizedek and the Christ orders in order to produce the Supreme Being order, which exists as trillions of beings operating upon thousands of dimensions. These are the divine beings who govern the universes, and their color is purple. Okay, so I made note, remember that the color purple represents your crown chakra. Okay, so he says all of these orders were produced from the female consciousness. They then collectively united with the consciousness of the males into existence so that females could teach them how the creation operated. Okay, so again, that was excerpts from When Europe Was Black by Morris Donaldson, and I wanted to bring that in because as we talk on this topic tonight of quantum computers, reality, matrix, crystals, and dimensions, we got into talking about the golden ratio, the spiral, the black holes. So I wanted to put it into perspective, and Brother Sean brought up an excellent point, that we are crystalline beings that are capable of operating at very high dimensional levels. I wanted to bring those excerpts in to let you know the concept of the creators that we really, really are. So in other words, we created this realm that we're in now. We know the program to this realm now. Okay, so I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it.
Yeah. The black hole, that's the womb, the darkness of the womb. I mean, light comes out the other end of it, those light beams.
Those angles of light. Very, very good point. Very, very good point.
It's all feminine, divine feminine energy. I mean, look at the miracles that take place within the womb. You get a whole perfected quantum computer equipped with a soul to operate it.
Yes.
All from the darkness.
Yes.
With just a spark of light.
With the spark of light. That's right. The sperm hitting the egg. And once that sperm hit the egg and a spark of light starts creation. So going back, to be honest, now, I wasn't trying to start no shit tonight. I wasn't trying to start no shit.
Hey, the immaculate conception is what it is.
I wasn't trying to start no shit tonight, so I was trying to. So, in other words, that spark of light in the particular egg is the beginning of creation for that soul being. So when I thought about that, I'm like, damn, it makes sense if we're angles of light and the spark of light brings us into this particular realm. It makes perfect sense. So very, very good point, Brother Sean. Okay, family. So what we're going to do now, I am going to do another video. Let me see which one, because I do want to get to how we can utilize these dimensions. So what's this damn video? This one is, Are We Living in a Simulated Reality, the Game and Life and How to Play It. I highly recommend this YouTube channel for you to subscribe to it. It's called Higher Self. They put out some damn good work over the past couple weeks. I have used their videos. So the first one is 15 minutes long. Their stuff is really well worth it. We're going to do the first one. We're going to come back and chop it up. This is Are We Living in a Simulated Reality? And it is the Game of Life and How to Play It. And this is off the YouTube channel Higher Self. So here we go.
Are We Living in a Simulated Reality? The Game of Life and How to Play It. By Nanis Ellis. August 5th, 2016. Website: ananis.com. Produced by Higher Self.
Have you ever had a sense that life isn't real, reality is an illusion, or you are just dreaming? Believe it or not, most people have had at least a fleeting sense that something is just not right about our reality. But why would so many of us have this odd thought or feeling if it weren't true? What if it is true and we are really living in a simulated reality? This may seem a bit out there, until you stop to consider that some very reputable physicists are now saying that reality is not real, and, in fact, there is a very good probability that we are living inside a sophisticated computer simulation. Of course, the simulated universe theory isn't yet widely accepted. However, most quantum physicists agree that the nature of reality operates according to mathematics and, for all intents and purposes, the entire universe can be summed up or explained digitally. According to the digital physics principle, reality is generated by digital information, and the electrical signals in your brain interpret that data into what you call reality. This means that nothing exists without consciousness. Moreover, just recently a quantum physicist by the name of Dr. James Gates Jr. discovered computer error correcting code in the fabric of reality, while there are also reports of scientists observing pixels in microscopic images of nature. If our reality isn't virtual, why is it pixelated and why would it include error correcting code? Actually, if we are living in a simulated reality, it explains many quantum quandaries about the universe and the nature of reality. For instance, many scientific experiments have concluded that reality only exists when it is observed, and, therefore, when there is no observer, there is no reality. There is also something called quantum entanglement, where two entangled particles are separated but they still instantaneously communicate with one another, regardless of distance and even faster than the speed of light. However, when pointing out quantum quandaries, we cannot forget about atoms. Atoms are the building blocks of literally everything, yet they are 99.9% empty space, and in fact, there is so little matter in our reality that the entire world could be condensed into a golf ball with plenty of room left over for another planet or two. These types of quantum phenomena have scientists stumped, because reality just shouldn't operate like this. However, if we are living in a simulated reality, it all makes perfect sense, and, in fact, each quantum phenomena perfectly explains how virtual games operate. For instance, in order to conserve hard drive space, as well as energy, the game player's reality only pops into place as needed, and in a virtual reality anything can move instantly from one location to another, because there is no time and space, and, therefore, things can travel faster than the speed of light. The simulated reality theory also explains parallel universes and multi-universes simply as versions of the simulation that simultaneously operate. Strange phenomena. Furthermore, if we are living in a simulated reality, it also explains certain non-scientific phenomena. Déjà vu, ghosts, and other paranormal activity could be glitches in the program. Psychic ability and intuition could simply be the result of accessing information within the program. Reincarnation could be pre-programmed memories, or past life memories could be alternate running simulations. The simulation theory can also explain alien abductions, UFO sightings, and other strange supernatural phenomena, because anything is possible in a virtual reality. Even miracles can be easily legitimized by quantum jumping, shifting parallel universes, or a radical change in programming where the programmer answers your prayers by rewriting specific code. The simulation theory also explains how two or more people can have different experiences in the same situation or conflicting memories, and, in fact, there is a phenomenon known as the Mandela effect, where large groups of people remember the past differently, and it seems that the past changes accordingly. It is difficult to prove something like this for obvious reasons. However, what if we seamlessly move from one parallel universe to another, yet we keep our memories from the previous timeline? This would mean that some of us might be in a timeline that correlates with particular memories and some of us might be in a timeline that doesn't correlate with particular memories. If this is true, it also means that we have the ability to quantum jump from one reality to another, thereby changing our experience of life without even knowing it. But, life feels so real. Except for the occasional odd sense otherwise, life feels incredibly real, and, in fact, it all seems so real that it is difficult to believe that our universe is a simulation of some sort. Nonetheless, if we are living in a virtual reality, we literally have no real reference point to discern the difference between real and virtual, so we actually don't know what real is. It is curious, however, that people who have had near-death experiences often report that the afterworld seems more real than this one. Well, maybe it is. Honestly, even if we are living in a simulated world, there is no way to definitively know, but the concept of a virtual reality does offer a reasonable perspective to many unexplained mysteries of life, and it also explains many common spiritual paradoxes. Decoding spiritual paradox. Many spiritual philosophies offer paradoxical teachings that have no basis in logic, and even lack basic common sense. However, when we approach these unusual concepts from a virtual perspective, they suddenly make perfect sense. Quite possibly, those first spiritual teachers actually knew that this reality was simulated, and they passed down hints in spiritual text. In the context of a simulated reality, let's examine three popular paradoxes. 1. Life is an illusion. Throughout history, many spiritual teachers have taught that life is an illusion. Nothing is really happening and we are just dreaming in a sea of emptiness. As abstract as this concept sounds, in a virtual world nothing is happening, nothing exists and it is all a grand illusion. 2. Only this moment exists. Another common spiritual belief says that everything is happening at once and time is an illusion. It's difficult to grasp onto this concept until we consider that in a virtual reality, time and space do not exist. Only this moment can be experienced because virtual life fills in around us as we move from place to place, and reality doesn't pop into position until it needs to. 3. We are all one. Most spiritual philosophies agree that we are all connected, and, in fact, we are all one. In an actual reality, being connected as one is probably illogical, but in a simulated world, We are all connected by the program, and, therefore, it is impossible to be separate. We are one because there can only be one in a virtual reality. Additionally, science typically clashes with spirituality, but when we approach both from a virtual model, all the pieces of the puzzle fit into position, allowing science and spirituality to finally meet. What's the point of simulating reality? Unlike popular sci-fi movies, we are probably not slaves to machines or prisoners held against our will. Instead, we are most likely the creators of this virtual world, or, at the very least, willing volunteers, but, what's the point? Unfortunately, from our limited viewpoint, we can only guess the purpose of a virtual existence, but there are many possible scenarios. Maybe, at some point in the distant future, humanity advances to transhumanism, in which we exceed human limitations and become super beings who are indestructible. Assuming this possibility, as an advanced civilization, we likely lose the authentic human experience, and, as such, might create simulations where we can experience life as mortal human beings, equipped with the free will to make choices within the simulation. We can experience the full range of ups and downs with challenges and delights, while uncertainty and the quest for victory make for an intriguing virtual life. Likewise, as an advanced future race, we probably don't experience anger, frustration, separation, loneliness, or fear, so if we desire to have these human experiences, the only way to do so would be in a simulation. Keep in mind that virtual time is very deceptive. 1 year in a simulation could be equivalent to 1 second outside the simulation, making an 80-year virtual lifetime pass by in the blink of an eye. Let's face it, when time and space cease to exist, anything you imagine is plausible. Another possibility is that our future selves want to learn from the past, so they can avoid repeating the tragedies of history, or this simulation could be some type of experiential training, such as a 3D school where we experience the positive and negative consequences of our behavior, actions, and choices. Then, of course, the reason for a simulation could be as simple as the fact that virtual games are fun and exciting because you can have any experience without risk. So, whatever happens, happens. No harm can be done in a virtual world because nothing is real, not even you. Let's also consider that there is not a real reality out there, and maybe, there is nothing more real than a virtual reality, meaning that everything in existence is virtual in nature. Are we really powerless? Indeed, the idea of living in a simulation can make us feel powerless, because it means that something other than us is in control and quite possibly controlling us. On the other hand, living in a simulation can mean that miracles are possible, magic can be expected, and we really are limitless. Once we understand how the simulation works and how to operate it from the inside, we can upgrade our minds for greater intelligence or creativity, download special gifts and talents, or reprogram our bodies for perfect health and even agelessness. We might also experience alternate versions of life, parallel realities, and supernatural phenomena, and, maybe we can also download advanced abilities, such as telepathy, telekinesis, and psychic ability. Cheat codes might also allow us to peek into the future before making a decision, or maybe even go back in time to redo a past mistake or missed opportunity. This all sounds like sci-fi, and it is, but sci-fi often has its roots in reality, or whatever this existence is. Nevertheless, real or simulated, let's get down to practicality, because there are more essential elements to life than superpowers and special abilities. If we are virtual beings in a virtual world, do we really have the power to manipulate our environment right now? The answer is most definitely yes. There would be absolutely no point to a simulation if we didn't have a way to influence virtual life. So, although we might be Sims, we still possess the free will to make conscious choices, and, As such, we have the power to consciously create reality, even if it's not real. Additionally, as an expert in the field of manifestation, with over 4 decades of research and experiential study, I can confidently say that the laws of manifestation perfectly correlate with a simulated reality, and, in fact, when examined through a virtual model of reality, many facets of manifestation make a great deal more sense. So, if we are living in a simulated universe, how do we influence it in order to have the best possible experience? Firstly, you need to understand that you are playing the game of life, and secondly, you must clearly comprehend the underlying dynamics of this virtual game, so that you know exactly how to play it. You are love, you are light, and all is well. Part 2. The game of life and how to play it. In this article, we will explore the complex dynamics of living in a simulated reality, including practical ways to consciously create the life of your dreams. Have you ever sensed that something is just not right about reality, like there is an important secret on the verge of being revealed? Deep inside, there is a part of us who knows that there is more to this convoluted game of life than meets the eye. According to quantum physics, the physical dynamic.
Okay, so we'll get into the part 2 if the family thinks we need to. Okay, so again, that one is, let me go back up here, and again, I like that YouTube channel. I would recommend it to the family. It's Higher Self, to subscribe to it. They have excellent stuff out there. But that video was part 1 because I had to chop it up. Are we living in a simulated reality, the game of life, and how to play it? So I'll pause in case somebody wants to put something on it first.
Definitely. We've always been saying that part about living in the now.
Mm-hmm.
If you really think about it, are we really living in the past? Because the minute you express a thought, it's gone. By the time somebody reacts to it, it's the past.
It's true.
Anytime we react, it's the past. And instant manifestation. It makes sense that everything is a computer program, a simulation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know that the body is not us. But as far as for the transhumanism part, switching over to robotic parts,
mm-hmm.
That's the next level cop-out. We're capable of ascending to those levels in this organic body. I mean,
exactly.
We already perfected it. They're trying to perfect a way to get their spirits to levels that souls can reach.
Exactly.
And they think that they can do it through technology. And they're trying to emulate us.
Right.
And if they can get us to abandon our bodies where they're able to, download their consciousness or spirit into a fully functioning melanated body with the DNA codes still intact.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a way to control it.
Wow. Okay, you said a mouthful there. You actually hit on the transhumanism, because I also want to talk about that tonight, because that's the next level that they're trying to go to, and you pretty much gave a summary of why they're trying to do it. So I'm not going to go there yet. I'll pause and see if Sis or Brother Wendell wants to put something on it.
Yeah, I do. I don't really agree with the pixel part, because pixels take the iris to simulate it. Put the pixel pixels together to make a picture. But what I do lean towards is holographic first. You know, it was a clue. The Lost Book of Enki, when Galzu, I love this crystal being. I met him once. He's my friend, okay? Galzu came to Enki and showed him the destruction. And he had some kind of cube or something in his hand, I think. And he was showing him what was going to transpire and what the warnings will be prior to the transpiration of the situation. Now, it's just like visions. Visions you can't touch, but you see them like movies. And they're holograms. So the holographic future is what we get a glimpse of when we astral plane. So we get a chance to see what's going to be and what was when we go astral planing. It depends on who you are and where you want to go. So I would be more inclined to say they're more holographic than anything, because I know I had one given by a crystal being some years ago. I mean, years ago. And he showed me exactly what will transpire. But he also entered into the situation what I'm already dealing with, and that was music off of a jury box I have. So he mixed the hologram of the future to anchor me to the present with the jury box. So I knew it was going to be a future event, and it did happen. It actually happened just the way that hologram showed it would happen, and where my position was in the process. So therefore, when we look at visions, we always say, oh, thank the Lord, they gave it to me. But actually, it is probably one of our crystalline beings or our angels that are showing us holograms, or, you know, just like, you know, but you can't touch them. And like that commercial said, hologram can't pour coffee. But you still can, and they look like they're in 3D or better. But but they, well, I think we're living in, not that pixel stuff he's talking about. And then they talk a lot about philosophy. When energy is only created when you see it, but energy is a frequency and a waveform. You don't have to be present for energy to happen just because you're there or not there. It's already there. Like, if, you know, the philosophy is if a tree falls in the forest, did it really fall because you didn't hear it? Well, then it has nothing to do with energy and vibration. And finally, they're trying to move that into science with the philosophy of that stuff too, and that's kind of crazy to me. But we don't have to be present for things to happen, and so therefore we don't have to have pixels, which are little pieces of you know, put together to see if this is a reality or not. We may be living in dimensions, I would say, not in pixels. So that's my take on it.
Wow, sis. You know, you just totally hit it out the park with it being holograms instead of pixels. So immediately when you said that, I said, damn, she's right. Second of all, holograms give the best picture or the best projection through what? A crystal laser. Okay? So there you go with that concept again of the crystal being the conductor.
Right.
Letting the angle of light or angels do the projection. So I'm going to go even deeper on you. What if we think when we're seeing these particular visions when we're, seeing these crystalline beings, how come that can't be you?
That's the question. That's
projecting to
what you're going to experience.
Yourself. Exactly.
Yeah. It could be.
But damn, that was deep. I ain't gonna lie.
But I like to tell you, I'd love to have that kind of power, don't you?
You already have it.
I know it, but I like to know I can use it right now.
Well, you're coming into knowing. So now tonight you've been put on notice. You can't say you don't know because you just been put on notice tonight.
I know. I like that one.
But that's deep. I love that hologram versus the pixels because you're right. Pixels is a lot slower. It's an older technology. So the holograms make a lot of sense. And they've been showing us that shit since the 70s with Star Wars,
right?
When they were doing the holograms.
Just like Star Trek and Beam Me Up, Scotty, they scatter the molecules and reposition the beings by holographic projection someplace else.
Yeah, that's pretty tight. That's pretty. Thank you for that, sis. Thank you. Oh, go ahead on, Brother Wendell.
I just thought about something while she was talking about the holograms. Back when we were young and watching Star Trek, we were just not getting a little crank up camera.
Yeah, isn't that something? And I mean, everybody talks about Star Wars and Star Trek. You can pretty much track the technology that came out of those movies. So that tells you that the technology was given. Because in Star Trek now, I used to love the little watches that they could talk on, had pictures on it. I love the phones where they could see people, all that shit.
And we're just not getting a cell phone.
Exactly. And we talked about that before when we did the Lost Book of Inky, how they going to have a damn device that can look across galaxies and you going to give me a damn mule in the plow. So we talked about that concept before of technology being way, way behind in this particular realm. But if we are operating on a lower dimension, then of course the technology will reflect that as well. So I'm going to pause in case somebody else wanted to put something on it. But yeah, sis, you knocked that one out the park. You really, 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 really knocked that one out the park. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Remember Pixie Art Studios when they was big for a minute making the cartoons?
Yeah, and I think that was Spielberg. Was that was a spinoff? Spielberg had a partnership in that. Yes. Pixar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, so
but they
that's
didn't upgrade it from that now. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't upgrade it.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, family, you can, I've been in tech going on 20-something years. So I understand, the evolution of tech and how they did it with the binary code and how technology keeps changing. But when I came into the spirituality side and started studying metaphysics, it blew me away how the computer technology industry mirrors the spirit world. It mirrors it to a T. It mirrors the age. It mirrors the vibrational rate. It just totally blew my mind away. Because if you think about it, when it was 1999, and they talked about that the computer systems was going to stop, And the reason they was going to stop because all of the computer systems was programmed on a 2 digital. So meaning the year 89 was the 19 was fixed, okay? The 19 was static. And the only thing that changed when the years changes was the last 2 digits. So if we were going from 1979 and when 1980 came, only the 80 changed in the computer system, the 19 remained static. So that's what the whole 2000, and they called it Y2K, year 2000. That's what they named it in the tech world, where all of the computer systems, what did it have to be? This shit is deep, y'all. What did it have to be upgraded to? A 4-digit system.
Mm-hmm.
AKA fourth dimension.
Mm-hmm.
So,
exactly.
you know, look back then, shit, I didn't know the metaphysics behind it. I was, you know, working in the industry and helping get, you know, managing the projects to get the shit moved over. And actually in this country, they brought over a lot of Russians because the Russians knew they shit. They knew them old programming languages, et cetera, et cetera. So when I look back on it, I said, oh, hell no. That was mirroring us moving to the 4th dimension. Okay? The 4th dimension, and let's take that to equate to our chakra system, is your heart chakra. That is the gateway between the lower dimension, the lower self, and the higher self. Okay? Only higher dimensional beings that are able to reach the crystalline state can get past that 4th dimension. So what happened from the computer technology world? When we went to year 2000, that damn technology, it just took off. Every 6 months, it was changing. Every 6 months. So now we're to the point where it is limitless. You don't have to worry about a computer system for 4 digits. The sky is the limit, per se. And they ain't even the sky. They've taken it to the cloud. Okay? So that's when they took us to the cloud technology. So meaning you can have different packets of data in different clouds. So literally imagine clouds in the sky, and they can all talk to each other. Okay? So that made the internet more powerful. It made it stronger. It made you not limited to having everything on your desktop machine, because now you can get the shit in the cloud. Okay? So that was technology mirroring or telling the story of what was happening on a cosmic spiritual level. Okay? So then you look at the video game world when they started talking about the Sims. And I'm not a big video game person. I just know it as shit because of the industry I'm in and all of the nerdy white dudes like that shit. So when Sims was real popular, and what was Sims? You're setting up simulations of different worlds. Okay, so I just found it very, very interesting that the evolution of technology on this planet, in the world that we are in the simulation, the computer program simulation, so the physical technology very, very, very well matches to a T where we are at a spiritual perspective. The only difference is once we came out of the 4D world, those demigod beings cannot go beyond that 4D. They're stuck. So what are they trying to do? They are moving into the transhumanism. So as Brother Sean alluded to earlier, that's where they get into all of this transhumanism and to, I think AI kicked it off, artificial intelligence. That kicked it off, talking about the robotics. So now they're trying to mix transhumanism, which basically means they're trying to mix, quote, quote, human with machinery. All right? And they're only trying to do that, and Brother Sean knocked it out the park, is just to try to mimic what you are as the higher dimensional being, because you're able to reach the realm, the higher realm. You're able to crystalline and function as pure angle of light spectrum. So those demigods that cannot reach, hell, they can't even get past that fourth dimension, that's where the transhumanism is coming into play. Trying to just slightly mirror what you are capable of doing and have been capable of doing. So very, very good point, Brother Sean, and that was a lead-in to where I wanted to go with artificial intelligence and transhumanism.
Hey, but sis, you could also look at it like this. We are the original AI. These bodies are quantum computers. Damn. We're the soul. They're mirroring us because they're stuck to the spirit realm. That's why they want us to dwell in the spirit realm, because that's the highest level that they can reach. But
that's right.
When we're in the spirit realm, we're generating so much energy, and they just having a feeding frenzy. They just loving it, like, oh, they think they're about to get out of here, but all they doing is powering us. You know, they still content with just sitting with us. You know, like how they say with us allegedly coming out of slavery.
Right.
You know, we want to fight for us to be able to eat at the white man's table instead of having our own.
Right.
Same thing. We can go beyond that, and our people concentrated on spiritual matters and still reaching back, connecting to other beings instead of realizing who and what they are. And you're capable of going beyond any of those thought forms, but you just keep giving your energy away, and you content with being on the same level as them.
Right. Right. And, you know, Sis Lioness has sent me a ding when we were talking about trying to figure out when exactly the bankruptcy hit, and she put it into great perspective, and she was saying it was June 5th, 1933, which translates in, when you do the numerology on it, 611, which equals, you flip that, 9/11. God damn it, I knew it. I knew that 9/11. Okay, so anyway, the flip/shift also relates to the golden ratio. Phi and Ophiuchus. That's the 13th sign. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, so just forgive me. It's spelled Ophiucus. So that's the 13th hidden astrology sign that they asked us, said, oh, yeah, by the way, we have not 12 zodiac signs, we have 13. So anyway, Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus. Okay, so good. So Sis Lioness broke it down to O plus Phi equals original high. we now are going to be the highest of the high and must pass through a phi, la, del, phi, womb of creation. That's the shit right there. That's the shit. The way she broke down Philadelphia, phi, la, del, phi, womb of creation. Thank you for that, Sis Lioness. That was the shit.
Love you, sis.
Yes, I'll never look at that word the same, because even that la and that del and the those can be translated into particle waves, and that is a part of the musical note scale that translates into frequencies. Okay, so they even knew down to the sound that is emitted, and they changed that musical scale rate, and they gave us the do, re, mi, la, fa, fa. So yeah, that was deep, Sis Lioness, real deep. Okay, so transhumanism. We know what it is. We know where they're trying to go. Now, I'm minding my business like I relatively try to do. I like CBS Sunday mornings on most Sundays to unwind with my little coffee, whatever. So this week on CBS Sunday morning, they have a segment, and guess what they were talking about? Robots taking over huge amount of jobs in the service industry. Okay, so they showed where the robots would get more and more into the factories, because that's what, from a manufacturing perspective, between that and sending stuff overseas, got rid of a lot of manufacturing jobs. Okay, now the robotics, they're moving into the driverless cars, so that's going to put out a lot of taxi drivers, and specifically they opened up where these dudes had invented the 18-wheeler trucks. They invented a computer that can drive the damn 18-wheeler itself, and we know that Tesla, the car company, Elon Musk, their Tesla model, they have a model where they have a driverless driver, and Uber is testing it as well. Then they show poisonous ass McDonald's, where they're testing where you can walk in there and order off of this kiosk screen your poison, what they call in food and shit. I wouldn't even give that to the damn dogs, to be honest. Even the animals fucking deserve better than what they're masking as food. But that's the story. But anyhow, you could order off of this kiosk your meal. So, of course, that gets rid of the cashiers. Then, in addition to that, behind the scenes, who's cooking the damn poison, they done programmed the damn robots to cook. Okay. So, they flipped to the little experts. And so the experts, they were like, well, what is this going to mean for the economy? So one of the experts, you all, said, and he was just as calm with it, y'all. He said, well, quite frankly, that's going to mean that we have to start giving a guaranteed salary or cost of living to people. And so I sat up. I just hear him say that the robots, they know that these robots are going to replace physical labor. So they just going to have to pay people just to live, period. So pay people to, quote, quote, do nothing. Okay. And so then they brought on the other expert to try to trick you up. Another expert, oh, well, you know, people are going to find other employment, just like when we went from the mule, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, right, whatever. Because the rate that the technology has moved, you would have to have people at a certain education to be the programmer of those robotics, right? So we know damn well we ain't finna jump from no folks flipping no motherfucking burgers to programming some robots overnight, okay? So the first man take on it saying, no, we're just going to have to pay people. We're just going to have to automatically pay them to live. Instantly, what I thought about, okay, so now we're moving into the robotic state, and this is what the whole reset shakeup is going to have a component to it as well, because the system of living off of being currency or energy they know is dead. So now they're going to build some robots, and they're going to try to mix transhumanism with the robots to try to mimic the energy that they have been ciphering off of all along. So I found that quite interesting. And so literally all of this week, family, I had articles come my way. I even seen it in the paper. I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal about robotics taking over. And then someone emailed me a article off of LinkedIn, and who's on the part of this damn article? Agent Richard Bronson's ass. And it says, must-read article on how our lives will change dramatically in 20 years. Software will disrupt most traditional industries in the next 5 to 10 years. Uber is just a software tool. They don't own any cars and are now the biggest taxi company in the world. Airbnb is now the biggest hotel company in the world, although they don't own any properties. Artificial intelligence. Computers become exponentially better in understanding the world. This year, a computer beat the best Go player in the world 10 years earlier than expected. In the U.S., young lawyers already don't get jobs because of IBM Watson. You can get legal advice so far for more or less basic stuff. I don't know if that's a bad thing, y'all, but whatever. Within seconds. With 90% accuracy compared with the 70% accuracy when done by humans. Well, damn, I didn't even know they were putting young lawyers out of a gig. I did not know that. So if you study law, stop immediately. Damn, y'all, this shit is deep. This shit is deep. So if you study law, stop immediately. There will be 90% less lawyers in the future. Only specialists will remain. Okay. So anybody that knows anything about what they are calling law, which ain't no damn law, it's some goddamn statutes and codes, you know that was the foundation or the glue that kept together the slavery financial debt-ridden system. Okay, the statutes and codes. So as we talked about earlier, the financial system is falling because the vibration of the planet has risen, and so have a certain amount of Mama Earth's guardian angels. We are essentially shutting down that currency financial system, okay? So if that's shut down, what the hell do they need lawyers for to write some goddamn statutes and codes on a system that ain't going to be in place no more, okay? So here we go. Watson already helps nurses diagnosing cancer 4 times more accurate than human nurses. Facebook now has a pattern recognition software that can recognize faces better than humans. See, we told y'all ass that they had been doing that, but anyhow. In 2030, computers will become more intelligent than humans. So there you go with them slipping in the damn transhumanism, okay? Autonomous cars. In 2018, the first self-driving cars will appear for the public. Around 2020, the complete industry will start to be disrupted. You don't want to own a car anymore. You will call a car with your phone. It will show up at your location and drive you to your destination. You will not need to park. You only pay for the driven distance and can be productive while driving. Our kids will never get a driver's license and will never own a car. Also tied to statutes and codes, family. I'm just saying. It will change the cities because we will need 90 to 95% less cars for that, okay? So what currently fuels cars? Oil. Where are they getting oil from? They're extracting it out of Mama Earth, her blood, okay? Very interesting that they're saying 90 to 95 less cars for that. You know why? Because they ain't going to be able to do that shit no more. It's over. She's rising. She's changing that vibration. So anyhow, we can transform former parking spaces into parks. 1.2 million people die each year in car accidents worldwide. We now have one accident every 60,000 miles, with autonomous driving that will drop to one accident in 6 million miles. That will save 1 million lives each year. Most car companies will become bankrupt. Traditional car companies try the evolutionary approach and just build a better car, while tech companies, we talked about this, Tesla, Apple, Google, will do the revolutionary approach and build a computer on wheels. Many engineers from Volkswagen and Audi are completely terrified of Tesla. Insurance companies, some other damn energy vampires, insurance companies will have massive trouble because without accidents, the insurance will become 100 times cheaper. Their car insurance business model will disappear. Real estate will change because if you can work while you commute, people will move further away to live in a more beautiful neighborhood. Electric cars will become mainstream about 2020. Cities will be less noisy because all new cars will run on electricity. Electricity will become incredibly cheap and clean. Solar production has been on the exponential curve for 30 years, but you can now see the burgeoning impact. Last year, more solar energy was installed worldwide than fossil. Okay, so again, fossil was using the blood off of Mama Earth. Okay, energy companies are desperately trying to limit access to the grid to prevent competition from home solar installations, but that can't last. Technology will take care of that strategy. And I'm going to say from a spiritual perspective, they are telling you that electronic grid is deadened, okay? Because the vibration of the planet is rising. With cheap electricity comes cheap and abundant water. Desalination of the salt water only needs 2 water per cubic meters, and so they're saying at about 25 cents. We don't have scarce water in most places. We only have scarce drinking water. Imagine what will be possible if anyone could have as much clean water as he wants for nearly no cost. How about for free? Because they ass going to be gone out of the higher dimension. Shit. Okay, health. The tricorder X price will be announced this year. There are companies who will build a medical device called the tricorder, and they literally saying, y'all, from Star Trek, that works with your phone, which takes your retina scan, your blood sample, and you breathe into it. So haven't the metaphysics teachers been teaching that for years, that you can look at the retina, you can tell by the breath what the health is? Star Trek showed you. Physicians from the melanated community have been teaching that for a long time anyway. It then analyzes 54 biomarkers that will identify nearly any dis-ease, or what they call in dis-ease. It will be cheap, so in a few years, everyone on this planet will have access to the world-class medical analysis nearly for free. Goodbye medical establishment. Okay, y'all. 3D printing. The price of the cheapest 3D printer came down from $18,000 to $400 within 10 years. In the same time, it became 100 times faster. All major shoe companies have already started 3D printing shoes. Some spare airplane parts are already 3D printed in remote airports. The space station now has a printer that eliminates the need for large amount of spare parts they used to have in the past. I'm going to try to skip through this, y'all. Okay, so business opportunities. If you think of a niche, now this is interesting. Business opportunities. If you think of a niche you want to go in, ask yourself in the future, do you think we will have that? And if the answer is yes, how can you make it sooner? Okay. What they're really saying, folks, is from a spiritual perspective, you got Mama Earth's guardians of the planet that have risen to the vibrational state. Matter of fact, they have created the higher dimensional state. Mama Earth is rising to it. Damn, y'all. You know, now we have to get to the point that if we want to even get close to that level, we have to start thinking about how we can make stuff happen in the future sooner. So in other words, once again, trying to mimic what you are doing and will go beyond as that crystalline being. If it doesn't work with your phone, forget the idea. See, they still using technology to do what you already can do naturally. And any idea designed for success in the 20th century is doomed to failure in the 21st century. Okay, so peep this. They say we in the 21st century. As a crystalline being, you are able to access the 22 realm. 22 means manifestation, okay? So the shit that they talking about in this article, you didn't really already surpass that, because as a crystalline being, you operate at the 22nd century level minimum, which is manifestation. Okay, so work. 70 to 80% of jobs will disappear in the next 20 years. There will be a lot of new jobs. Yeah, right. But it is not clear if there will be enough new jobs in a small time. So they are admitting it. They didn't want to admit that shit on the little CBS Sunday morning thing. Okay, and let me see. And it says, it had the audacity to say, y'all, Bitcoin may even become the default reserve currency of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest. So again, this is actually this article was put out on LinkedIn. It's called Must Read Article on How Our Lives Will Change Dramatically in 20 Years. Don't believe they ass. It's actually going on now. And this applies to those that will be stuck or choose to stay at the fourth dimensional realm. This is what applies to them. They are going to try to mimic those higher realms that you, as the crystalline being, you've already created it, family. So I'll pause. I know there was a lot to let somebody put something on it.
Yes, indeed. Go ahead, sir.
I would say they're looking for mass extinction, aren't they? Because there's no way in the world they're going to feed us useless eaters to sit around and be useless more than we are now.
No,
so,
they are going. They are. I disagree. They are going to. What they're going to do is pay you if you choose to stay in a fourth dimensional realm. Oh no, they gonna pay you. You know why? Because they need your energy. So all of that damn talk about we gonna kill out mass amount of people was a fear tactic to keep your vibrational level low. I have always told people that.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to be gone, and there's going to be the ones that's going to stay here and deal with these stuff.
Right. And they going to pay them. They going to pay them to sit on their ass, to stay in the fourth dimensional realm to feed on.
Literally.
Literally. So yeah, no, they're gonna collapse the financial system, and they're gonna let people go and live comfortably. All that boo boo, go on and do you, sweetie. Yeah, no, you right. That was a draconian slavery system, boo boo. So we're gonna make sure you have everything you need. Here is your cost of living. The price of everything will be brought down, so you will be able to afford. No, we're going to make you comfortable, boo-boo, because we want you to goddamn be comfortable in the fourth dimension.
Except when the lottery comes along and it's your turn to go someplace that you don't want to go, huh?
Well, I don't know all about that. I'm just saying these are demigods that cannot get past the fourth dimension.
They need some company.
They need some food.
Yeah, they need some food. You be on somebody's table when your number comes up in the lottery. Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Remember,
you don't remember the book The Lottery, do you?
No, I don't remember that.
There's a book called The Lottery, and if you won the lottery, it's really losing because then. It is your time to be exterminated.
Okay.
It's not like you're winning millions of dollars. It's your turn.
Got you. Okay.
So they were kind of putting that out there a long time ago in that book called The Lottery.
Mm-hmm. And they did a Twilight episode on that too, where they thought they was going to this beautiful place, and then they got on a damn ship and found out that the recipe was that they were eating you. But anyhow, I'm sorry, Brother Sean. Go ahead on, because I know the time is dwindling down.
Oh, yes.
Like 6 minutes.
Basically going to be like a hologram within a hologram within a hologram. I mean, as you see, they're going with this technology, these 4D glasses, this, that, and the other. They're going to get you to slip on a pair of them glasses, and then they just... You're just going to sit there. You ain't going to have to eat. They're just going to sit there and drain on you, and you're going to sit up there and imagine that you got all this money and that you're doing this and that you're doing that. But you actually sitting in some cocoon somewhere with some glasses on, some gloves and a computer. And you ain't doing a goddamn thing but dreaming while they draining your energy. People going to go thinking they getting on them spaceships, thinking they coming to rescue them. All they doing is taking you somewhere to plug your ass in and make you dream that you got all this money and you doing this and you doing that. Yeah, you just sitting somewhere chilling, slab of meat.
Yeah. Okay, family. So we're warning you that that's what the robotic / transhumanism age is. They're just swapping out the old tricks of the debt slavery into we finna make it comfortable for you so you could stay here in the fourth dimension so we could feed on you. So I'm going to bring in Sis Lioness, real quick. I know we only have 5 minutes. I didn't see her because I was reading the article.
Hi, everyone. I'll be as fast and concise as I can.
That's okay. Greetings, sis.
Greetings, everybody. Joy and love to each of you because it's here. It's here. Okay. A couple of things. Sandra, be ready for my last comment because you're on it. You are on it. Everybody is. And I'm reading something called The Days of Flight, the final chapter, which is now, and it incorporates for you, Wendell, the parts that you did with the last books of Enki and the Lost and the Last, okay, and who's who within there and what's happening right now, together with what you just said about the computer world and all like that. I sent you that little thing. I was a so-called techie since 1972 with operations, programming, management, advisory. I left and they sent people after me to get me back, but I wouldn't go because I had become me, okay, more. So, but look, back in 2034 BC, okay, birth certificate too, okay, and soon to be, 24. 24, and soon to be 2024. When we get, this is 2017. You add 7 to it, Sandra. That 7, that perfect number, because the shit is gonna happen right now. It's happening. It'll be over soon. The flipping of the full script. We take our rightful places, those who want to, those who accept it, those who want to give up doing the other stuff. And if they don't, that's okay too, because at some point they'll still be going home. Okay.
Right.
And so you put those together and it's 4048. So that's still an 88. And the 7, which you round up, so that's the triple 8. That's the triple 8, but that's 5K too. So that's the 5th dimension for sure. And they can't live, they can't breathe there, but we can. And it's a lot of other things. So, but I want to tell you that yesterday we squashed the Bitcoin shit. Because it was real shit. It's not good for us. And when one of the people you had on there before a few months ago, a couple of times, we were trying to help you to see, but that had to be brought out anyway. So Bitcoin is gone or about dead, so we don't need to worry about them. But you have to know about all things, because this is this energy now to let all of the shit go, so you can just have that warm and loving and rejuvenating thing there. And you all did a wonderful job. So, and I'm coming to you next week in living color.
All right.
So, okay.
All right.
Good job. Thank you.